It all began when a young creature was born from the union of a poor ice mage and a hybrid, a wolf girl. Her family survives by selling medicinal herbs that the girl searches for in snowy fields. Poverty doesn't cause them major problems, but we can't say the same about some wolves. Once again, while searching for herbs, the girl stumbled upon some boys in the forest who only saw her as an object. The pureblood wolves insult and mistreat her, considering her a dirty vegetarian. Throwing looks of contempt, they ordered the mixed-blood girl to learn how to answer when a wolf speaks to her. Their contempt for mixed bloods hurts more than the icy wind of the northern lands. And this is why the girl seriously thought that being herself was so wrong. Because of his cruel wolf nature, the boy stomped on all the herbs she had been collecting for her mom. He didn't even stop at her frightened look, thinking the mixed-blood girl's legs were trembling with fear. Trying to defend herself like a trembling lamb, the girl cut his face, knowing it was ice magic. She seemed crazy. The dirty blood dared to attack a pureblood wolf. Fear awakened her inner courage, threatening him with a piece of ice. She ordered him not to come closer. Her confidence only made the wolves laugh, as they believed ice magic was useless in lands where it was abundant. Assuming the girl was foolish for being mixed blood, the cruel boy decided to show her her place. Due to the strong blow, the girl crashed into a tree, and at that moment, an unknown image flashed in her mind. In it appeared a human girl, and the child understood that it was her past life. And at that very moment, she remembered the novel she loved reading so much. The protagonist of Little Red Riding Hood was the leader of the mixed-blood dragons. She met a mixed-blood wolf during the war with the wolves, who asked her for help. Little Red Riding Hood took notice of the pleading boy who wanted to revive his older sister. The heroine of the novel succumbed to temptation, despite the wolf's dirty blood. She made him hers. That was the very story the girl dreamed of reading, where the author is handsome, and Little Red didn't disappoint. The gaze of that attractive boy cannot leave one indifferent. Little by little, she integrated with Little Red. Snapping out of those thoughts, the girl couldn't believe she had been reincarnated into that novel. Being in a horrible situation, she suddenly realized that this was the world of Little Red Riding Hood. Thinking the author is a complete madman, she ran out and fled without looking back. Instantly, the boys chased after that crazy woman, but she didn't stop, wanting to see everything with her own eyes. Meanwhile, the mother patiently waited for Eva. Until she came, there would be no food for her. And the little one, if the girl understood correctly, the protagonist of the novel is her unborn little brother Sion. In the novel Little Red Riding Hood, half-wolves and half-dragons hated each other to death. Where humans lived with mixed bloods, the enmity began when a wolf stole the heart of the dragon leader. After losing the heart she intended to give to her beloved, the leader died from being unable to control her anger. According to legend, Little Red's brother also had a heart, and death awaited him for not mastering his power. She blamed the wolves and unleashed a purge in the north. In this novel, the heroine is the protagonist's sister, whom Little Red Riding Hood slaughtered like a dog. It seems the author is a genuine lunatic, creating a harsh childhood for the girl, condemning her to a bleak future, with the idea that she had to get out of there, no matter what. She didn't want to die like a dog. Strange noises behind the house drew the mother's attention, and she went outside. And she saw Eva. In a panic, the girl claimed that the wolves had damaged their house and threatened them with death if they didn't leave. After analyzing everything, she decided she had to prevent the meeting of the two protagonists. To do this, Eva had to leave home, hiding her reincarnation. So she had to lie to her mother. She only wanted to protect everyone, but someone seemed to mock her plans. After Sion's birth, the mother got worse. There was no wolf nearby who could attend a mixed blood's delivery. They say good things happen to good children, so the mother asked Eva to be kind to others. Then, the girl heard her mother's voice for the last time. Destiny snatched their mother away from both children. That was her reality now. Both parents had abandoned them, so Eva decided to protect Sion at all costs. After many years living deep in the forest, Eva stumbled upon something that shocked her. A little girl, lying in the snow, surprised her. She couldn't understand what a child was doing in such a place. The girl had a high fever, but the heroine thought someone else would come to help her. At that moment, her mother's words echoed in her mind, saying that good things happen to good children. Whether Eva felt pity for the girl abandoned to the cold, or her mother's words influenced her, she took her home. Sometime later, upon returning, little Sion greeted her cheerfully at the door. He was already waiting for his sister. All this time, the little boy had been playing alone. No stranger came around here. It turned out the girl hadn't woken up yet. She has been sleeping for a long time, but probably hasn't rested yet. It has already been 3 days since Eva brought the lost girl home, without even realizing the consequences. Deciding the girl wasn't waking up because of the fever, she asked her brother to bring cold water and a towel. Not even the best herbs help, and under current circumstances, taking the girl to the hospital is difficult. Possibly, the mixed-blood girl acted wrongly, but it was also dangerous to leave her there. Barely touching the little one's hand, Eva apologized. There was nothing else she could do for her. At that moment, she felt a slight movement in her hand. The girl groaned softly, exhausted. In a panic, the young woman jumped up and started asking about the wound. When the forest girl opened her eyes, the room lit up with her amber eyes. Like rubies. This truly scared Eva, knowing that in this world only one race has red eyes. Putting those strange thoughts aside, if she remembers correctly, everything is much more complicated. After her death, the one who took Sion was the protagonist of Little Red Riding Hood. In the novel, Little Red Riding Hood asks Sion who she was to him, demanding an immediate answer. He replied, crying pitifully, that Little Red Riding Hood was his protector. But now, for some reason, Eva heard that answer come from her lips. Confused, she thought calling her a protector was going too far. If that girl is really Little Red Riding Hood, there is a reason for her being so far north so early. In the original story, her first meeting with Sion was when they were already adults. Deciding that the course of events had changed, Eva immediately hid her brother and asked him not to show himself. Hoping to talk later, Sion didn't understand why he couldn't see her. Then, in the heroine's head, there was only one thing. If they meet now, everything will end like in the original story. She had to say that the girl might get scared and ask her brother to wait outside. Feeling her guilt towards her protector, the girl finally thanked her for saving her. Eva thought it was the right thing to do. She was worried, however. It seems the girl is fine. Obviously, if Sion and she don't see each other, the Mixed Bloods plan will continue to be carried out. The survival plan in this crazy story is to buy a castle, but not too ostentatious. Intermediaries only help wolves whose identity is known to enter the country. Poor nameless commoners won't be let through by anyone. But with money, nothing is impossible. That's why Eva's ambitious goal is to buy a castle with Sion and move to the human world. That is why she memorized the medicinal herb book her father left her. She had also been saving money all the time, selling valuable herbs from the forest. However, following her plan, Eva did not know that the story's events had become mixed up. If she returns Little Red Riding Hood home safe and sound, only time will separate her from a happy ending. Unexpectedly, the girl decided to ask where she was, where she found herself, and who she was. Hoping that replica didn't mean that, Eva began to worry noticeably. The faith that the author couldn't do that vanished when Little Red Riding Hood said she remembered nothing. It seems the author is insane. The heroine didn't understand when the girl got amnesia. It's not that she doesn't remember anything, she only remembers being very hot. Something happened to Little Red before she passed out, but it's unclear if she lost her memory because of it. If we use the information from the novel, she is Rachel, a half-dragon warrior who controls fire. Her brother rules the south. Knowing this, Little Red can finally go home. Actually, Eva cannot say that, thinking that she herself must take her there. Although for wolves, entering Dragonlands is like suicide. Noticing the thoughtful expression on her benefactor's face, Rachel said she couldn't pay her anything. And although Eva didn't demand payment, the girl really wanted to thank her somehow. Until she regains her memory, Little Red asked permission to stay here. At that moment, the mixed-blood girl already heard her plan falling apart, and her life rolling towards misery. Meanwhile, the search for the missing girl continued even through the night. But everything was useless. Knowing they hadn't found her, the captain became curious to know what the boys were up to in the end. He immediately ordered them to find her, threatening to cut off their heads. He was only thinking of Rachel. The next day, the protective sister bought some clothes for Rachel and took her to the doctor. Little Red Riding Hood had already resigned herself to being called sister, but she didn't understand why they had to hide their faces. Eva said it was to protect themselves from catching a cold, a silly excuse fitting those in Little Red Riding Hood. When calling Ev, a handsome young man suddenly appeared from around the corner, radiating with his smile. Near the square, there is a secret alley that few know about. Eva sneaks here to sell herbs to customers. She brought good product today. A regular customer has become interested in the fire herb. For high-quality fire herb, the mixed-blood girl asked for 10 gold bars to avoid revealing her identity. During the transaction, she must hide her face and change her voice. Offering a way to buy the cheapest one, Eva asked the gentleman to examine the girl. Putting aside all unnecessary questions, the doctor agreed, immediately noticing that the girl was very thin. The little one was visibly worried, but he asked her not to fret, introducing himself as someone known. The doctor was also interested that the girl didn't know why she lost consciousness or remember anything. Moreover, she doesn't feel well now either. The consequences of the injury seem serious. In these cases, memory returns to patients in a couple of days. However, to say for sure, the doctor needs to know exactly what happened to her. She is very weak. Furthermore, her temperature is extremely high. Since she had a fever a couple of days ago, Eva assumed it hadn't disappeared yet. Suddenly, the doctor remembered that it is said a girl, the captain's younger sister, disappeared in the southern region. When it came to relations between the North and the South, nothing came to the heroine's mind. Of course she knew. Being a wolf herself, it was impossible for her not to know. Not having an idea what she was looking for, the gentleman advised her to be more careful. This conversation forced Eva to make the urgent decision to return Rachel to her place. If this continues, the dragons will undoubtedly kill her when they discover the whole truth. Despite her concern, the protector called the girl to come home to eat. The incredibly adorable protagonist of the novel was willing to eat anything if the lady prepared it. Now Eva convinced herself to keep a brave face, knowing the girl would never kill her protector. Looking around, Rachel suddenly noticed a dream catcher that helps catch nightmares. Speaking of nightmares, her expression suddenly changed. Looking down and slow breathing, Rachel's gloomy red eyes reminded Eva of the novel's plot. After losing her only older brother, Little Red Riding Hood never slept peacefully again. As soon as she closed her eyes, the same nightmare immediately began to torment her. Only upon meeting Sion could she overcome the pain and suffering consuming her soul. In heart, although they are at the beginning of the story, Eva unhesitatingly bought a dream catcher for the girl. She was driven by a single desire, that from now on, Little Red Riding Hood would only have sweet dreams. This is undoubtedly the best gift a protective sister has ever given Rachel. In this turbulent time, Eva, without knowing it, became the savior of the heroine who will kill her. After the sale, Eva returned home, where 2 children were waiting for her. Waiting patiently, they played adorably. Now Sion will be able to help her comb her hair. The lady wanted to be at ease, knowing that Sion wasn't showing his ears to the girl. Hoping Rachel doesn't suspect anything yet, just thinking about it makes her uneasy. But from her reaction, it seems she hasn't discovered her secret yet. When the mixed-blood girl decided to take Rachel under her protection, she was given a new name, Ruby. Although the girl read the novel where her name is written, she couldn't use it so easily. How good it is that she and Sion get along well. This girl's eyes shine like rubies. A true beauty. With Rachel's arrival at the house, a couple of small changes occurred. However, Sion was beginning to wonder why Ruby ate cold food. It's just that those vulnerable to the cold, like Sion and them, crave warmth, and food is no exception. Rachel's sad face it hurt a little, but seeing that the girl ate everything, he calmed down. However, that night, the gift of food combined with her abnormally high body temperature. That's why Ruby got sick. The fire element in dragons is very fierce. We could have figured that out sooner. The only thing Eve can do now to help her is to cool her head with ice magic. Fortunately, exposure to the cold during the day cooled her down, and she recovered quickly. Eve explained that the girl should only eat cold food, saying the fever hadn't passed yet. Early one cold morning, as the heroine was about to go to the market, she saw Ruby half asleep. The girl ran to hug her and begged her not to leave, but to sleep together a little longer. Thinking for a moment, the girl took out a gold pendant and said she found it in the forest. She apologized profusely for going into the forest without permission. In the forest, the girl might run into wolves, even though the protector told her not to go. Understanding that Ruby was bored at home, the young woman warned that they would attack her if she wandered alone. However, resisting that adorable little thing turned out to be much more difficult. Promising to return early, Eva suggested playing snowball fights altogether. After sending the girl to sleep, she left, saying she would keep her ring. Hearing she would keep it, Rachel thought her mistress was a real spoilsport. In her eyes, the protector is just a fool who didn't even understand her hint about selling the ring. This dragon girl was convinced that excessive stupidity is also a sin. A few days ago, in the southern region, news broke about Rachel's idiopathic disease, which causes fever. After trying so many treatments, the lady was desperate. The girl wasn't improving at all. It was time to prepare for the worst. It all started when Rachel was diagnosed with an idiopathic disease. With all his soul, the captain couldn't believe it. He thought she couldn't inherit that disease. Worried, the lady ordered her to control her internal fire element so as not to endanger herself. Suddenly hearing his sister's voice, the Lord rushed towards her, completely bewildered. As soon as they touch, the growth of the fire element inside her will become a threat to both. That's why the young man immediately pulled his hand away, saying he didn't expect to see her suddenly faint. Then tears rolled down Rachel's cheeks. The nightmare she had hurt her deeply. From that day on, the legend that dragons have only one heart spread throughout the city. Rachel thought those stories were related to her brother, so she insisted she would save him. Whatever it costs, she promised to return after clearing up the rumors spread about him. Only weeks later did it become known that the girl had left for the north. The captain could hardly believe that a similar-looking girl was seen in the square. They say with a stranger. It seemed a great audacity to him that this man expected to trick his sister with a toy. Instantly, the captain decided to go personally. That disgusting wolf won't dare approach Rachel. Soon, when Eva was preparing to go home, she suddenly heard a voice nearby. Apologizing, the strange man wanted to know if she was selling anything interesting today. Deciding he was another addict. Eva, though poor, had a good education. It's a weighty reason not to get involved in those dirty dealings and reject him. Her moral principles do not allow her to deal with addicts, but there is an even greater reason. Like every addict, this guy is an idiot who thought her ring looked expensive. Wanting to buy it, Eva blurted out the hefty sum of 50 million in gold bars. Believing the girl despised him, the gentleman said he would never earn that much in his life. He got so angry that he wanted to hit her. And that's why Eva hates drug addicts. To make him control himself, the wolf girl cast a northern magic spell on him. She didn't intend to keep watching that garbage. She just wanted to return quickly to her beautiful children. When saying goodbye, she told him she wouldn't give up the ring, not even if the jerk brought the money. Because it was invaluable, she decided to give the ring to the girl. Although he insisted he found it by chance, Eva didn't believe him. Just thinking that the dragon captain still doesn't know where his sister is sends shivers down her spine. They say he loves his sister very much. So Eva thought the search wouldn't take long. Although her house is hard to find, it is deep in the forest. Remembering she had forbidden the children to go out, the heroine realized she was a kidnapper. As she approached the house, a strange feeling invaded her, as if someone was following her. Obviously, if he tracked her in the forest, he shouldn't be underestimated. Knowing that she was hiding, the ice mage's daughter covered the apple in ice, and she ordered the stranger to show himself. Meanwhile, the children were at home. Little Sion was playing at being a brave wolf and a fearsome dragon. However, he was always cold. Rachel couldn't find a reason for it. Deciding to intensify the fire, she waved her hand, and suddenly a familiar sensation invaded her. Seeing she was about to go out, Sion reminded her that his sister doesn't allow them to go out without permission. In this situation, it makes no sense for Little Red Riding Hood to be obedient. She needs to save her. The girl was only going to save her sister and Sion's. Thinking about who was pursuing her, Eve supposed it was Little Red Riding Hood's brother. But in reality, the dragon would show himself immediately. He wouldn't be spying around, so the girl considered the idea that, perhaps, the doctor handed them over to the wolves. Suddenly, Eva heard a crunch in the bushes and threw a frozen apple, hitting the mark exactly. After such a blow, it's hard to stay standing. However, there was no sound of attack. Listening in silence, the girl ordered the stranger to come out and state what he wanted. When the hope of him appearing so easily faded, she felt thousands of gazes behind her. The wolf girl thought one or two people were following her, but there were many more. At that instant, fire erupted under her feet, trapping her. She understood that she couldn't manage alone. The worst thing is accepting your fate, because in the original story, Rachel unleashed a massacre. With every drop of the melted apple water, Eva understood that he attacked her because of the blow. At that moment, everything exploded. The dragon chief demanded the girl say where she was hiding his sister. Realizing her mistake, Eve was choking, unable to even articulate a word. And although she tried to say she did nothing wrong, you don't mess with a dragon. He has neither mercy nor patience to listen to nonsense. He assumes Eva is a kidnapper. Seeing that it was unfair, that it was too much, The girl demanded that he at least listen to her. The moment she grabbed the dragon's hand, time seemed to stop. Their opposing forces, upon colliding, spun into a whirlwind of uncontrolled energy. Seeing the flame extinguished, the master was perplexed. He couldn't figure out who she was. The truth is that Eva strived to care for her sister, and no amount of money would suffice to thank her kindness. Saying those last words before fainting, the girl called him a cruel scoundrel. At that moment, Rachel's voice resonated from the forest, furious that her brother dared to do that to Eva. In her eyes, everything indicated that her brother had become a villain. When the protagonist opened her eyes again, she saw her room and thought it had been a dream. The last thing she remembers is Rachel screaming and then running towards her. With those thoughts, Eva remembered that crazy dragon was there, realizing it wasn't a dream. Seeing their sister, the children immediately rushed to her. It turned out they hadn't been separated from her side. It was so unexpected, but Eva was very grateful for their efforts anyway. Sion was the most frightened. He thought his older sister had died. Although Rachel was scared, what a fuss they made over nothing. The important thing is that everything is fine. Although Eva almost cried seeing her worried little angels, Sion told her that Little Red Riding Hood's older brother left for a moment. He said he would be back soon. The instant the wolf girl touched his hand, she felt like all her strength was fading away. Good thing the ears didn't appear. If they saw his true form, he wouldn't tell. Suddenly, a crunch, the dragon chief noticed the door was awful. Zero security. The moment their gazes met, Eva was breathless, completely mute. Seeing her wake up, the master thought she wouldn't make it. He looked like a complete lunatic. Now that the girl could see him up close, she noticed he was quite attractive. What a surprise. Soon, everyone gathered around the round table. The tension could be cut with a knife. First, the gentleman introduced himself as Noel Ramier, and he had many, many questions. But at first, he thought he should apologize for what happened in the forest. He turned out to be kinder and more polite than Eve thought. He seems to know nothing about dragons. Thinking about it, it's understandable why he attacked her. She too would go crazy if she knew they kidnapped Suziona. However, without denying he went too far, he wanted to demand compensation for all the trouble. Although Noel himself would be worth compensation, it is Eva's wolf instinct speaking. Though late, Noel introduced himself as Rachel's older brother. His little sister suddenly disappeared. He took a very long trip to get here, but the girl has absolutely no memory of who Rachel is. This handsome guy is truly her brother, but Eve cannot say she knows, so she decided to play dumb. Since the girl insists it's not true, her sister couldn't easily believe him. Insisting he wasn't lying, Noel extended his hand and asked Rachel to give him hers. The dragon's power, locked in his hands, was revealed, the irrefutable proof of their kinship. Instantly, Rachel withdrew her hand in fear and fell backward, terrified by the emanating fire. Seeing Sion's confused face, Eva supposed he was also frightened by the flame. Little Rachel was so scared, she didn't take her eyes off her sister. To calm her, Sion also took her hand. Although he didn't understand anything himself, and even though Noel didn't understand what was happening to his sister, it seemed Little Red Riding Hood was already feeling better. With all her might, she tried to deny her true kinship with the dragons. Now Noel is the villain to his sister, and Eva found it very hard to witness. Seeing how distressed the young man had become, the heroine decided to tell him the whole story of her first encounter with the girl. After that, Noel held a grudge because his sister fainted due to the damn wolves. He suddenly asked if everything was all right, when what he should have done was put out the fire. But there are problems with that. Noel Ramier is considered the most powerful hero in the story of Little Red Riding Hood. He is endowed with extraordinary magic. They describe him as someone incapable of mastering the furious flame with only one heart. However, this means he finds it difficult to control his own emotions, and the power of the flame, putting his life in danger. The fire, which he struggles to control, was extinguished by Eva, because she has the freezing ability. Even so, there are many mages whose powers are superior to hers. As far as she knows, the north is full of wolves with similar power. Anyway, this is just speculation. The girl couldn't say she was a wolf. She trained 1,000 times to say she was not a wolf, but a person. Just as Ev had recovered, Rachel blurted out that we should kick that horrible guy out. The truth is, he is not a stranger. The resemblance between them is obvious. Denying his kinship, Rachel judged him evil for hurting her sister. It turns out Sion thought the same. Now both children demanded that he leave. So as not to upset the gentleman, Eva tried to convince him that his memories would return soon. Her attempts to touch his sister failed. Rachel doesn't want him. She prefers to live with her sister. She's just a child saying silly things. He dreamed of taking his sister with him if he had to leave. Perhaps Eva is to blame. Although the girl is charming, they must say goodbye. It's time to go home. In the deathly silence, soft sobs were heard. Noel broke down seeing his sister distressed. Ev tried to reject the girl as delicately as possible, so she would go home sooner. But now, with no other option, Mr. Noel asked the girl for a favor. He promised it wouldn't take long, just until Rachel reconciled and trusted him. On one hand, Eva won't have another chance to meet such a guy. It's a good opportunity. But on the other, there is the risk that he will discover the truth, and then they will kill her. Of course, one can only dream of such a handsome guy, but if he finds out Eva is a wolf, they will roast her. Aware that he committed an unforgivable act and ashamed to ask for a favor, Ramier begged for his sister. The wolf girl was sure it would be difficult, but Noel promised to reward her for her kindness. Before leaving, hoping the girl would consider the conditions, the gentleman said he had erred. And although he deeply regrets it, Eva would have done exactly the same in his place. Unexpectedly, the dragon captain asked her to take his hand again, knowing it was improper. But just then, Rachel came running, furious at seeing that guy still there. Since his presence still disturbed the girl, Noel decides to leave once and for all. Reflecting on the hard day, the protagonist deduces that the gentleman wanted to know more about her power. Without knowing why, she would prefer a walk in the storm to these conflicting feelings. Rachel finds it strange they call her that, and gets scared when fire escapes her hands. Now, the hardest part is explaining all this to this little one. Eva was also scared at that moment, but first, she needs to reconcile her with her brother. When she asks if Noel seemed great, Rachel immediately asks for more details. He is actually tall and has broad shoulders. Eva has never seen anything like it. He is her ideal type. And to top it off, he has an incredibly attractive face. Noel seemed like her ideal, but wolves are sworn enemies of dragons. So no, Rachel was willing to try, only because her sister wanted them to become friends. She could go out with him 3 times a week, as long as Eva was with her. The fact that the young mistress didn't return with the others disconcerted the dragon squad a little. As for that girl, her slight touch was enough to calm the fire roaring in the captain. Suddenly, Noel ordered more people to be sent to protect the house and watch them. Soon, Sion visited the sisters, just as they were arguing about Rachel's brother. It turned out the boy simply hated that guy, but Eva asserted there was a misunderstanding. Hearing that, Sion got angry. And besides, Ruby for him is Ruby. He doesn't want to call her anything else. Thinking about what to do now, Eva realized that the main obstacle would be her brother. She almost forgot, with everything that happened, that she promised the children to play outside together, although Sion says there are many dangers, so she decided it was better not to. Hearing that, the boy waited in panic for them to at least be able to play near home. Deciding to be more affectionate today, Eva sent them out alone, as she had her own things to do. Dressing warmly, the children were very happy and planned to build a snowman. Before leaving, Eve warned them to run home if they saw a stranger. But already in the yard, and despite the prohibition, Rachel walked further and further away from the house. It's just that she wanted to show Sion something he would love. And it's not toys, but real magic. Seeing the enthusiasm in the boy's eyes, Rachel understood that he liked her fire magic. Shortly before, Sion, by sheer luck, witnessed Rachel igniting fire with her hands. He begged her to show more, but the girl desperately swore she hadn't done anything. Only when the boy threatened to tell his sister everything did Little Red Riding Hood agree to show him. Her fire is very warm. The little boy kept his word and told his older sister nothing. The flame is small, but it warms. Sion liked it a lot. Determined to comfort her naive soul, Rachel clenched her fists, and at that moment the fire disappeared. Now it's cold. It seems the weather in the north is too cold. Sion has asked his sister many times to move to a warmer place, but she refuses. But the reason for this, he was only willing to reveal if Rachel made fire. Only when the flame appeared in the girl's hands did he reveal that Eva had a couple of options in mind for a better future. However, Ruby didn't expect it to be a place nobody knows anything about. With these ideas, the fire in her hands grew, and naive Sion found it amazing. Because of him, the girl knew that her sister really wanted to strive to earn a castle. It became clear that Eva's favorite things are handsome guys, a castle, lots of money, and a secret place. Then Rachel understood everything. Her older brother could fulfill all of Eve's wishes. She knew how to fulfill all her sister's wishes. They needed to go after that handsome guy. First of all, it was all a misunderstanding. He apologized, and moreover, he could take Sion to warm places. The clever boy was so happy that, unintentionally, he showed his little ears. Realizing it, he asked the girl to pretend not to have seen anything, but he forgot about his tail. Fearing he would be scolded, he hoped Rachel wouldn't tell his sister anything. But then, Little Red Riding Hood wanted him to promise something, not to hate his older brother. The next morning, Eva woke up at dawn to unexpected knocks on the door. At the entrance was Noel. He had promised to come today. They hadn't seen each other in a long time. Since the lady noticed his disheveled appearance, the captain thought he had arrived too early. At that hour, Rachel was still sleeping. The children played late. Now nothing would wake them. Upon seeing his sister, Noel hoped she wasn't causing too much trouble. To Eva, Rachel is a sweet and obedient girl. In fact, it's the first time she has obeyed anyone. At that moment, the girl opened her eyes. She thought the two looked good together. Seeing the girl closing her eyes again, Eva supposed she hadn't fully woken up yet. Suddenly, Noel asked if it was the first time, referring to their meeting, as the lady seemed familiar to him. Without affirming it, the protagonist said she had lived here since her birth, so they couldn't have crossed paths. With a thought about how slow that guy was, Rachel opened her eyes and woke up. Judging by her face, she was very happy and wished her sister good morning. But upon seeing that guy, her face changed. She felt warmth, as if he had touched her in dreams. The strange thing is that both seem indifferent, as if they were complete strangers. Determined to help them, an idea occurred to Eva, and she asked Rachel to take her hand, also taking her brother, so she could gradually get used to his temperature. However, the girl thought it wasn't right, and immediately pushed the two closer together. In reality, Noel was very confused. It's the first time he has felt so cold. That worries him. Through her hand, Eva felt warmth and thought that was what he wanted to check that time. Seeing them holding hands like lovers, Sion didn't understand what they were doing. Launching themselves onto them, the boy shouted that he wanted them to hold his hand too. Eva stopped him immediately, saying he couldn't behave like that in front of a guest, and she ordered him to sit down. But today the boy is very fussy, and demanded that he also be included in the game. In that case, Noel proposed playing Hot Cold, a game Sion loves. Suddenly seeing a wolf tail on the boy, Eva panicked and decided that the bad end had arrived for them. With a careful movement, she hid the tail. Fortunately, neither Noel nor Rachel noticed the tail. Thinking that the ears would soon appear, the protagonist understood what that would imply for her. Her bewildered appearance attracted the captain's attention, so the girl started doing everything so he wouldn't look down. Praying that Sion wouldn't lose his composure, Eva noticed how warm Noel's hands were. While everyone was distracted, Rachel unexpectedly decided to intervene and tidied up her younger brother's hair. She found it adorable that his hair was very messy. He looked like a little puppy. In that instant, Sion seemed to snap out of it. His tail disappeared instantly. According to Noel, he is a friendly child, but he has trouble playing with children and gets worried. This little one is very obedient, not like Rachel. That's why the captain likes him. As soon as Eva wanted to stop the boy, Rachel suddenly felt warmth and wanted to hug him. Noel's hugs are warm. It's like a sun, big and warm. That's how they described him for the first time. And he is also beautiful in Sion's eyes and to Eva's taste. Hearing that, the girl almost burst into flames from embarrassment, explaining that the boy hadn't woken up yet, and he was talking nonsense. She was literally speechless when her brother revealed that he likes handsome boys who cry. In that case, she decided to interrupt Sion immediately and take him away. That's enough for today. When Sion was a baby, Eva always teased him when he started crying. Who would have thought karma would catch up to her? She begged the captain to pretend he heard nothing. At dusk, Mr. Ramier was preparing to leave. It was time, but he promised to return. Suddenly, he leaned over Eva, as if wanting to ask her something, but lacked the courage. But seeing his sister's perplexed look, he said he didn't need anything. On the way, the dragon captain realized it was dangerous to trust strangers. It could be risky. Because of his heart, he had killed too many innocent people. Even his parents. He cannot control his terrifying strength and the fury hidden inside him. But the question is, how did that girl manage to master it so easily? Even controlling his internal fire, Noel couldn't stop thinking about her. The mere thought of that cold girl makes anguish pulse in his chest, burning his heart. The thought of her brings a constant smile to Noel's face, without quite understanding why. That question reminded him of a dream he had a few days ago. He woke up in weightless space, not knowing what was happening, with a sharp pain in his hand. Suddenly, a girl emerged from the flames, but everything was confusing. It was impossible to see her face. Knowing he would suffer if he got close, Noelle tried to warn her not to approach. At that instant, an unknown luminous creature touched his hand and instantly dissipated his hellish fire. The pain vanished suddenly, but the master had no idea who that girl was or how she managed it. Just as he was about to say her name, the dream was suddenly interrupted. Perhaps it's because she is Noelle's only salvation against his deadly illness. That's why thinking of that girl makes him smile without realizing it. Love at first sight has nothing to do with it. That's only for romantic novels. Thinking about those feelings, Noelle suddenly turned around. Rachel, who was running after him, called him slow. In her eyes, he is just a fool, an idiot, a dummy, and a guy less intelligent than a dragon. The only good thing is that at least he didn't ruin her plan. He couldn't take Eva to such a dangerous place. And even if it's not safe here, Rachel didn't care at all. Hoping her brother would catch the hint, she reminded him that Eva likes handsome boys who cry beautifully. Most importantly, Eva dreams of living in a palace. She is a good girl who knows what she wants and gets it. According to Rachel, her brother perfectly fits the description. She just doesn't understand why he hesitates. She was convinced that he shouldn't convince himself that he feels nothing for her. Accepting to help, the girl begged her brother not to forget that he is a boy, and he must take the initiative. The next morning, Eva was getting ready to go out, but her little sister didn't want to let her go. Determined to go to the market, Rachel wanted to know if that guy had given her money. It turned out he gave her quite a bit, but the girl needs to visit her friend. After saying goodbye, she sent the little one back to bed, promising to return later. For Rachel, it's no secret that Eva took a basket with herbs. Even though her brother gave her so much money, the little girl's excessive ambition was approved by Little Red Riding Hood. That girl deserves to be her stepsister. Suddenly, she remembered that Eva always covers her face when selling herbs, so no one recognizes her. It turns out she did go to see her friend, and maybe that friend is actually her boyfriend. It's obvious she wanted to earn a lot of money to live happily ever after with her boyfriend. Rachel didn't even consider that possibility and decided to follow her. However, she didn't expect Sion to wake up and also want to go with her. The girl wanted to follow her sister secretly and return quickly so he wouldn't notice. But if she doesn't take the boy, he will surely follow her and she might get lost on the way back. Rachel agreed to take him with her, only if he promised to stay by her side. They set off towards a cold and boring place. It was time to find Little Red Riding Hood's stepsister. On the way, Eva couldn't stop thinking about her last conversation with Rachel about the money Noelle gave her. It wasn't long ago. She saw 2 huge sacks of gold in front of her and didn't know how to interpret it. She thought Noelle would despise her for her strange preferences, but he gave her a lot of money. Then he looked so happy, as if giving away money was his hobby. Although the money was excessive, she felt it wasn't enough, and he was willing to give more. Eva wanted to ask how much more she could add, but giving in to instincts in front of a stranger is bad. With charming generosity, the gentleman told her not to hesitate to ask for more. She could have everything she desired. However, clenching her teeth, the young woman asked to exchange the money for something more valuable. For a smile, in an instant, Eva decided to spend it all. Instincts took over her again. Noelle said he would give her all the money she wanted, but she was afraid to ask for a fortune. Just touching his hand makes her cheeks blush with shyness. Modest boys are her type. Now that the heroine has a lot of money, she can fulfill the last request and return to the children. At that moment, a male voice was heard. One of her regular customers was calling her. He is a businessman who is always traveling for work, so he knows a lot. Sometimes he tells Eve interesting stories, without knowing she is a girl. The eastern tigers love nutritious vegetables. That's why they like herbs. What an unexpected piece of information. At his request, Eve brought more. Perhaps today will be the last day she engages in sales. It happened so suddenly that the businessman became distressed. Where will he buy herbs for his tigers now? Nevertheless, he found out how to contact intermediaries for a legal migration. Regarding this, he hoped the seller knew they now have a new ruler. Eve held her breath upon learning that illegal migration was strictly prohibited. Assuring there was still plenty of time, the businessman suggested waiting until the ban was lifted. But he didn't even suspect that Eva had very little time left. Surprisingly, the regular client decided to give her a farewell gift. Those rare herbs are impossible to find or buy. They are like drugs. Deciding the businessman was crazy, the girl rejected the offer and returned the package to him. He turned out to be more honest than she thought. But still, he offered her a taste of the amazing flavor of a new world. A world of death when the frost arrives. That is the reason why Eva decides to throw it away on the way home. Thinking about it, the frost in the north is not deadly. Unlike a heat stroke, Eva is in mortal danger. She thought she could move to a warm place, but she didn't expect everything to end like this. Now the heroine has no choice. She will have to stay and take care of Rachel. The only thing that could calm her thoughts was seeing her little ones. But the door wasn't locked, and it was empty inside. Sion and Rachel had disappeared. Worried about what happened to them, Eva ran back to the forest in a panic. Still hopeful, Eva called out to her children, but her failed attempts indicated they were not in the forest. Trying to find them, she thought they might have gone to the square. Rachel is different from the locals. They will notice her instantly and recognize her, so they have to find her quickly. They are neither in the alley, where they used to sell herbs together, nor on the street, where they used to walk. Not understanding where they had gotten into, Eva blamed herself for not having watched them sooner. She ran without looking. The tears prevented her from seeing, and she bumped into a stranger. It turned out that Noel was hiding under the black hood. Seeing the young woman, he supposed something was happening. Unable to hide the truth, Eva confessed that the children had disappeared, blaming herself for leaving them alone. She only cared about the money. She is an irresponsible sister. When the young woman returned home, the children were gone and she understood all her guilt. Hearing that, Noel was the first to suggest she calm down. Now was not the time to cry. Without thinking twice, she ran out, determined to go look for them. She was driven only by prayers that Ruby and Sion would take care of themselves until she found them. Meanwhile, little Sion doubted more and more that they had reached the right place. Seeing the terrifying guys with knives, he felt they shouldn't be there. He is very scared, but after such a long trip, Rachel wanted to find her sister. She also ordered the boy to stop crying. Crybabies are not to her liking. Rachel thought Eva had strange tastes, and Sion decided to support them, which is why he cries. In any case, it was time for them to leave there. However, after all those harsh words, Sion got very offended and ran away crying to find his sister alone. If he keeps running, he will reach the central square, and they will surely see him there. Aware of what was happening and all the risks, Rachel understood she had no choice. Using her fire magic abilities, the girl decided to force him to stop. It turns out Sion likes fire. He is a complete idiot. Rachel never spoke ill of her sister. Whoever she likes, Eva is her most beloved future stepsister. It seems the problem is solved. The best way to make a naive wolf wag, its tail is fire. Rachel was sure there was no one, until she saw a man behind her who saw her fire. He said he had simply been mistaken, but it's obvious he won't be able to hide under the scarf. Hearing the accusations against him for creating fire, the brave girl protected her brother. Judging by his vacant look, this man is dangerous. Without hesitation in showing her dragon power, Rachel told him it wasn't her business, and to leave. Fearlessly, she warned him not to come closer, threatening with her fire. Seeing the ring on his finger, the man understood why the merchant had rejected him. Laughing out loud, the bastard didn't understand how a dragon dared to come to the north. How dare he speak to her with that arrogant tone, threatening to take her life? Now, the man thought he could make a lot of money selling those children. Fearing for his sister, Sion started hitting the bastard, demanding he let her go. That's why he got beaten up. Moreover, his half-breed secret has now been revealed. Rachel must protect Sion, but she couldn't breathe. At that instant, something happened. An explosion of fire struck the bandit's back, burning his body. That this insignificant one dared to approach the girl, Noel considered it unforgivable. All his dragon fury descended upon the man who had dared to touch the little one. An unbearable pain burned the man inside. At that moment, he only had enough strength left to beg for mercy. Noel decided his fate, thinking what to do with that irritating wolf. Suddenly, he felt a touch. Through tears, Sion begged him to stop. He was really scared. It seemed like total madness, unable to control his power. Noel fell to his knees and apologized. The peace and happiness he had felt in recent days had almost completely blinded him. He almost forgot who he is. Wolves are his enemies, they must be killed. But only one idea held him back: the fear that this might scare Eva. Just thinking about it makes his heart freeze. When the fire suddenly went out, the surviving man accused the captain of wanting to murder him. According to him, you don't attack wolves on their territory. He was going for the leader, but suddenly he fell. Throwing an ice apple at him, Eva couldn't believe that scoundrel was capable of this. Even after the man lost consciousness, she didn't stop blaming him for what he dared to do. He dared to touch the girl with his dirty claws. Eva thought she should kill that drug addict first. Furious and thinking those despicable beings deserve hell, she grabbed the apple and decided to finish him off. At that instant, Noelle ran and snatched the apple from her hands. He couldn't allow such cruelty. Although the girl tried to break free and kill the scumbag, he was sure she wasn't in her right mind. Suddenly, Rachel understood that she didn't want Eva as a daughter-in-law. She herself would want a wife like that. Just as the wolf girl exhaled, weakly, Noelle held her by the waist and caressed her face. He apologized, hoping she had calmed down by now. Only now did the protagonist understand the mess she had made. It seems she regained her composure. These thoughts vanished with a child's cry. Little Sion was so distressed that he now longed to hug his sister. However, Eva, furious, demanded he answer why he left home without permission. If she asked him to wait, she lived in fear that such a misfortune would happen. That's why she tried to protect her brother from that. It's impossible to imagine how worried Eve was, fearing the little one would suffer. Sion was certainly at fault for disobeying, but what a relief that nothing happened to him. Feeling guilty, Rachel couldn't stand aside and confess that she was the culprit. Saying that she was the one who asked Sion to go with her, tears welled up in her eyes. Sion denied these words. It was he who begged Ruby to walk outside together, and then he fled from her. Eva believed the fault was hers. She should never have left the two of them alone. Without evading responsibility, Rachel kept blaming herself for saying her tastes were weird. But Zion still thought those tastes weren't weird, but special. Until the end, the children blamed each other, promising to love each other and respect their tastes. Interrupting them suddenly, Noelle admitted that the girl did have surprising tastes. It's time to stop crying and go home. But first, the children must thank the gentleman for saving them. Without hesitation, Zion ran to hug him. Without Noelle, they would have big problems. Thanking her brother was much more difficult for Rachel. Timidly she thanked him. It seems Noelle finally took the initiative, extending his arms, ready to hug the little one. With a big smile, the girl threw herself into his arms. Perhaps now they are truly happy. Sion was hungry, so Eva suggested buying food on the way. But suddenly, they discovered that Rachel had lost something in an alley. The girl proposed going back, asking what she had lost, but Rachel preferred to go with her brother. Noelle told Sion and her to go on, promising that he would catch up with them soon. The alley junkie almost died, but now these people need something from him again. He brought it upon himself. He shouldn't have scared Rachel and Sion, and now he will pay for disturbing his future sister-in-law. At nightfall, the children finally fell asleep, and Eva could sigh in relief. Suddenly, Noelle asked if everything was all right. But he wasn't referring to the children, but to Eva. The girl's eyes reddened noticeably the moment his hand gently touched her cheek. She assured him everything was fine, that she had just been very scared, feeling that what happened was her fault. According to Noelle, she shouldn't blame herself. She will learn from this, and it won't happen again. She shouldn't feel guilty for what the children did. She did very well, and as the dragon captain believed, she did everything to protect them. Hearing that he wanted to propose something, the girl fled in a panic to collect herbs. The cold and clear air refreshed her soul, like the first snow covering the earth. So many things happened today, but the heroine never imagined something like this would occur. For that very reason, she won't be able to simply get it out of her head so easily. The decision to recover before returning home was totally justified. The next day, Eva didn't feel well. She felt really bad. She couldn't believe that a short night walk led her to catch a cold. Noticing her high temperature, Noelle insisted that she take medicine urgently. He, without hesitation, took charge of preparing an herbal infusion for the common cold. It seems everything is going well. Sion even wanted to help, but he forgot he cannot use fire. Watching them select herbs from the piles, the heroine's eyes closed. She didn't even notice when she fell asleep, and opened them again when Noelle offered her the medicine. The headache was unbearable, but the herbal infusion should bring relief. With just one sip, Eva felt the bitterness invade her, but she clenched her teeth and drank every last drop. Time to sleep, the rest of the infusion. Noelle left it on the table, for her to drink more upon waking. She didn't know if it was due to weakness, but his hands, when touching her, made her feel between heaven and hell. Through his touch, she felt his love and desire to protect her. Eva fell asleep instantly. She had no idea what was happening, and upon waking, she realized she slept all day. But instead of his hands, the girl saw wolf paws and a tail. She had transformed into a she-wolf. She couldn't believe it. She slept like a log for so many hours and woke up turned into an animal. For a moment, the protagonist thought she was still sleeping and that everything was part of her imagination. Then Eva tried to calm down, closed her eyes and counted to 10, hoping everything would return to normal. But when counting to 8, she realized it wasn't a dream. She was just trying to deny reality. Confused, thinking about what had happened, suddenly she perceived a peculiar aroma. She has her nose blocked due to the cold, but even so, she smells a dreadful stench. Eva asked Noelle to make an herbal infusion from her basket, but those herbs have no side effects. Seeing the blue herb on the table, the girl couldn't believe she drank an infusion made from that rare herb. It's not strange then that she transformed, although it had never happened in history. Now, the she-wolf has to return to her human form before they arrive. Just imagining how her siblings would discover the truth, she knew she was done for. First, she needs to get out of here to regain her human form when the drug's effect wears off. Thinking Eva was still asleep, Rachel entered the room, afraid of disturbing her sleep. Seeing a white wolf in front of her, the girl was wide-eyed, paralyzed, and without saying anything. Judging by its face, she understood what it was. But Sion apparently didn't get it. He thought it was something magical. They have lived in the forest since they were born, so he hasn't seen other wolves, and Eva never showed him what they looked like. Those ears and that tail seemed familiar to him. At that instant, the girl prayed they wouldn't recognize her. As soon as Sion was about to say who it resembled, Rachel clapped her hand over his mouth and said it was a dog. Staring intently at the snow-white creature, she assured him she had seen one like it before. However, Sion found it strange that his sister disappeared and a dog appeared. Sion only uses his brain when it's not necessary, so he guessed his sister was related to that. Determined to do something, Eva used her Lupin charm to distract them. As soon as Sion took the bait, Rachel guessed her sister was hot. That's why she decided to cool off. Seeing him hug the dog, one would feel sorry for the sister who is forced to pretend to be a dog. Because of him, the protagonist almost forgot her desperate situation. When a male voice was heard, it became clear that the final boss was about to appear. And the first thing that interested him was the reason why that creature was there. Eva thought acting adorable wouldn't work. The captain was not easy to fool. While hesitating what to do, the children defended her, assuring that it was just a puppy. Rachel, determined to raise the dog, demanded attention for him, because he was no ordinary dog. Hearing this, Noelle was perplexed. It was the first time his sister behaved like that. But suddenly, something more important eclipsed his thoughts. Eva had disappeared. Herbs scattered on the table, the bed rumpled, as if she had jumped up and fled in a hurry. The sudden appearance of that dog raised suspicions in Noelle. His facial expression screamed to the four winds that he was in a very bad mood. Eva knew that fury would soon erupt, but she couldn't scare the children with fire. So she firmly decided that she had to avoid a disaster at all costs. In front of the fearsome Noelle, she gently stepped on his foot and put on a puppy face. And although Eva hoped he would forgive her this time, it's obvious it won't work. It seems she will have to accept her death, and the worst part is that she will die as a she-wolf. However, Noelle noticed her charm. He understood Rachel, the light blue color of the eyes, of the fur, the most beautiful he had ever seen. The captain's mood changed drastically. Eva got away with it. Finally, she felt his soft caresses, and she wouldn't mind behaving well. But seeing how cute she was pretending to be, Noelle thought she didn't need to try so hard. He decided to go gather firewood and told his sister to take care of the puppy, as it is very confused. Assuming Eva went out for a walk, he left the children to look after the house until he returned. In reality, the dragon captain barely restrained himself from attacking her. He didn't know she was a she-wolf. If Rachel hadn't stopped him, Eva wouldn't have survived. Not knowing what to do now, fury and an unconscious power cloud Noelle's reason, exasperating him. After his departure, Rachel sighed in relief and suggested going to get ready for bed. She said the puppy also needed to sleep. That way, the sister would have time to return to her real form in peace. If Rachel hadn't stopped Noelle, Eva wouldn't have survived, so she was very grateful. However, she didn't know what to do to return to her human form. The girl cooled her ardor, but there is a risk of not returning to the previous form. Due to the drugs, her eyes closed on their own. At that moment, Eva thought she shouldn't pressure herself, but simply give herself some time to heal. Under the cover of night, she transformed into a human. Today was truly a difficult day. Noelle returned home late, when the girl was already human. He was sure that she had panicked when transforming into a she-wolf. He was only interested in her reaction upon learning that he knew everything. At first, to get to know Eva better, the gentleman used Rachel as an excuse to contact her. If she were the she-wolf from the legend, Noel would have to take her heart to save his life. But since he is in love and decided to stay by her side forever, all the emotions hidden in his heart were revealed. The dragon did not want to hurt her. He wanted to be with her forever. And for that, he needs to do something so that Eva chooses him. Sir Rainier must become someone she likes. If he could control his powers, he would use them to warm her up. Feeling his warmth, the girl shrank back and the gentleman immediately withdrew his hand. But just as Eva grabbed his arm and pulled him towards her, Noel knew that his only heart beat for her. Sometimes it floats, like the moon in the sky. Sometimes it crashes down to earth. In this awkward moment, the young man prayed to the god he never believed in, wishing that Eva would love him. The next morning, the protagonist woke up thinking the weather was warmer today. At that instant, she reconsidered and saw Noel sleeping in front of her, holding her hand tightly. Expecting him to notice her tail and ears, the girl couldn't believe he had spent the whole night like that. She even thought he would tie her up and interrogate her when she woke up. Just as Eva decided to flee, she suddenly heard his voice. Noel sensed that she had woken up. Tightening his grip on her hand even more, he told her that the previous night the girl had gone out for a walk, and she had gotten frozen. Confirming his words, Eva was terrified by the mere thought of having held Noel's hand all night. Shortly after, the captain decided to leave. He really thought this girl was adorable, and although Eva hoped Rachel would regain her memory and leave with her brother, the girl declared that she didn't remember anything. In that case, the protagonist apologized for having held Noel's hand for so long. Thinking she hadn't slept well, surprisingly, she even offered her help whenever it suited him. Eva was willing to try hard and do everything in her power to please him. Then, if she didn't mind, Noel asked her to stroke his hair. Not knowing why he was so insistent today, Rachel still decided to help. She pretended that her brother Sion was already waiting for her, so she decided to leave urgently. At that moment, everything inside Eva collapsed. Being alone with the captain made her feel uncomfortable. Every second Noel held her hand, she felt a chill that pierced to the bone. Holding hands sounds good, but stroking his hair would be true paradise. The mere idea that Eva disliked his touch caused a strange sensation in Noel. Knowing he was asking too much, he couldn't forget that icy moment they shared together. Just so he would stop talking nonsense, Eva agreed to gently stroke his hair. The heart races. The she-wolf is stroking the dragon captain himself. While his heart beat uncontrollably, Noel realized he must look like an idiot. A few days later, Eva noticed that something had happened to the children at home in her absence. That's why she decided to take them for a walk, on the condition that they wouldn't stray even a centimeter. Addressing his sister, Sion proposed a joint visit to the village bookstore. Eva thought it was a good opportunity to buy books from the human world and begged her children for silence. The children were fascinated in the store, but their sister watched to make sure they didn't take off their cloaks. Suddenly, among so many books, the heroine saw that adult romantic novel. Before reincarnating, Eva also used to read that novel, where the protagonist cried in front of his beloved. She thought of buying it. Now that she had so much free time at her disposal, seeing an empty shelf, Eva realized there were no books about the human world. When she asked the vendor, she expected all of them to be sold out. But she never imagined they were banned due to massive illegal migration to the human world. According to the vendor, their king became furious, and the books were withdrawn until the situation improved. In the end, she bought a book she wasn't that interested in, thinking she was trapped in the north forever. It was already late when they returned home. Everyone slept peacefully, except Rachel. She overheard her sister talking about the human world and thought she wanted to move there. Realizing that they might never see each other again, the girl decided to prevent it at all costs. Using her powers, she summoned a fire phoenix to ask it for a favor. Rachel ordered it to bring the book Eva had bought that morning. If she didn't tell anyone, the book must be related to her moving plans. But seeing an adult romantic novel, the girl couldn't believe her eyes. It never occurred to her that her sister was like that. To understand everything, she ordered the phoenix to memorize a fragment and transmit it to her brother. The firebird didn't take long to tell the young man everything the romantic book hid. Noel burned with shame and was petrified knowing Eva's true preferences. Since he intends to please Eva, he must try his best to be an attractive crybaby. But there is no point in reading a bunch of sad stories if he can't manage to cry. Seeing Phoenix Rachel in his study, he thought something had happened to her. It turned out to be a message from his sister, ordering Noel to immediately find out Eva's type. When the young man discovered what kind of guys his beloved liked, he was speechless. Her ideal type is fiery, manly guys with a sexy smile and also being a hyena. Realizing that he has nothing in common with his ideal, Noel decided it was not time to learn to cry. And although it is night, he plans to leave for the north and clarify everything directly with her. Trying to stop him, the servant desperately tried to remind him that his master has a meeting tomorrow. In his head, only the question resonated: what the heck was going on in the north that Noel was flying there daily? At dawn, the children happily ran out to play, and even invited their sister to join. But Eva insisted they shouldn't worry about her and enjoy playing. Only now did she realize she should have taken him out to play sooner. They were having so much fun. Although, thinking about it, last night she also had a great time reading that novel. Completely losing track of time, the fire in his chest tormented him all night. That's why he traveled to see his beloved. That's what the hyena confessed to him: his tanned skin and striking appearance. This guy was not Eva's style at all. It had been a long time since she read romantic stories about a captive, so it was her fault for not checking the content. It's not that she didn't like strong guys, but she preferred someone who knew how to awaken her compassion. Eva likes guys with long, slender fingers, ideally fair-skinned brunettes, and with a gentle smile. If she could choose, she would wish it was someone like Noel. Putting those thoughts aside, the girl heard a crash coming from the forest. It was Noel. His appearance was striking. He stood out even more beautifully against the white snow. It seemed strange to Eva, since they hadn't planned to meet today. If memory serves, Sion said she likes handsome, crying boys. However, Rachel showed a completely opposite image from yesterday. Moved by the curiosity to know who she really likes, Noel decided to test it. He said that a flame tormented him all night. That's why he made this trip to see Eva. The girl couldn't believe his words, repeated the hyena's line. At first, she thought it was a coincidence, until Noel confidently asked her to cool him down. Thinking about it, it's unlikely to work. Eve is a she-wolf. Seeing her brother's ridiculous attempts to seduce the girl, Rachel didn't understand what he was doing. She showed him how to behave to win her heart. Noel could at least tan his skin like a full-blood. His sister gave him the perfect hint, but he failed anyway. In her fury, Rachel didn't even listen to Sion. She made up her mind. Eve would be his wife. Because of what happened, Sion didn't want to play with her anymore, but obviously she didn't care. Sometimes the girl says things she doesn't understand. Although he does want to play with her, Rachel used to play with him before, but now her indifference hurt him. Although Sion could entertain himself alone, the girl no longer cares. She will no longer agree to play with him. For her sake, the boy went deeper into the forest, when suddenly he came across something strange. When bending down to pick it up from the ground, he never imagined what would happen to him. No matter how uncomfortable Noel feels, Eva thinks he shouldn't unbutton his shirt like that. The hyena style doesn't suit him, so he was sure the girl wouldn't like it. But at that instant, he felt a touch. The previous time felt better when Eva stroked him. He was so jealous of the children at that moment that he said it without thinking. Downcast by the tenderness of her hands, Noel couldn't believe she still remembered him. To conquer the heart of such a delicate girl, he will have to try his best and investigate her ideal type. It was terribly awkward, but the young man really liked that tenderness. Now, enveloping him in her affection, Eva hoped he was okay. She decided to help him when she noticed he had missed a button. Noel blamed the suffocating heat for his sudden loss of control. He simply couldn't resist. He apologized and promised to be more careful next time and hide his embarrassment if Eva didn't like it. At that moment, the protagonist remembered her parents. Not knowing what to do, she found her ideal. But he is a dragon. Meanwhile, in the forest, Sion found a beautiful stone, like Ruby's eyes. When he decided to take it home, he suddenly ran into a mysterious stranger. Although he described himself as a good person, he had a disturbing smile. His sister once warned him to be careful with those with slanted eyes. Obviously, it's not easy to fool Sion. After all, his sister told him not to talk to strangers. However, tricking cautious children is the strength of this youth, with astonishingly colorful hair. Upon seeing his hair color change, Sion couldn't believe what he was seeing. It turns out it's a fantastic ability. This guy is a chameleon. He can change color whenever he wants. Now that the little opponent is defeated, we can get down to business. Upon asking what the child was holding in his hand, the youth discovered he had found that stone by chance. That stone, which looked so warm, the stranger suggested Sion give it to his precious sister. The gentleman even said he knew a place full of those things. But the boy only burst into tears. This is totally unexpected. It turns out his sister loves Ruby. His sister said that Ruby is so warm that she can be hugged every day. By her side, Sion felt simply like a small, cold child. He doesn't know if his sister will hug him too if he has that thing. However, he understood very well that his sister didn't love him. And that wasn't going to change with a few little stones. The stranger was moved to tears upon hearing that. He can't stand seeing others cry. Distressed, he tried to convince the boy that his sister did love him, that it was impossible for her not to. Sion will understand when he grows up, but right now, he didn't know what to do. The stranger advised him not to hate his sister. Maybe she didn't show it, but deep down she loved him very much. Thanks to that man, Sion felt better. It was obvious his sister would be happy to receive that little stone, and then all the boy's worries would disappear. They cried a little, but enough is enough. It was time to get back to work and finish the task. If the boy took the bait, getting closer to that girl would be easier. Chameleon had to take care of that. The moment no one expected it, a little girl came out of the forest. Seeing that man in the forest, she stopped breathing, not understanding what he was doing there. Furthermore, she decided to find out why Sion left alone, without telling anyone. Because of her, the girl couldn't observe the brother and sister well. The relationship between them improved notably. It seems Eva fell in love with Noelle's shyness. Suddenly, Rachel shouted at Sion that her sister's ideal type was not a hyena. But seeing that she wasn't there, although it didn't help at all, it infuriated her that he could leave silently. She advised the boy to invent a good explanation before approaching her. Pressured by his furious sister, Sion couldn't take it, and to not be a traitor, he went to her. Now, wanting to know who this person is, Rachel ordered him to tell her everything he knew. Until recently, everyone was on tenterhooks, because not only the young mistress disappeared, but the captain didn't return either. Some had the feeling that he was secretly raising a pet there. Of course, the master was sure of what he was saying and wouldn't affirm anything without proof. The others could hardly believe that the captain not only went there often, but also bought mountains of romantic novels. It was then that Carmelo received the order to leave immediately for the north. Not only did he not expect it, but, against orders, he fell asleep during the meeting. They ordered him to secretly follow the captain the next time he went north, and also try to get close to someone close to the captain, and take advantage of it. The stone, purified by the captain's inner power, had more power added to it. It is deadly for a normal person. The main thing you must remember, Carmelo must not allow Rachel to touch it, as this attribute is similar to her flame. If the woman the captain met is worthy of being his life partner, upon touching the stone she will absorb all its power. If an ordinary person touches it, obviously, they won't be able to control it and will burn to ashes. There really was no other option, since the young mistress and the captain had been absent for a long time. Thinking about those scoundrels, Rachel couldn't believe they would use her brother's power to test her sister. What she least wanted was to put at risk the person who had been so kind to her. So, the girl asked her brother to give her the stone, believing that something so dangerous should be with her. Just as the young mistress was about to touch the stone, Carmel was literally going crazy. He couldn't allow the stone's fire attribute to clash with her flame. The young mistress was in danger. Rachel kept trying to snatch it from him, and if it continued like this, sooner or later she would succeed. The only solution at that moment was to swallow the stone. Seeing what that idiot was doing, Rachel ran towards him in a panic, screaming for him to spit it out. She claimed that Carmel's life was in danger, but in reality, it would be more dangerous if she had it. The situation got out of control. Rachel was going to use force if her master didn't spit it out. Fearing being hurt by the fire, Chameleon swallowed the stone, clenching his teeth. At that instant, a demonic power emanated from him. His eyes turned white. Only Rachel understood what was happening. The horrifying Carmel, transformed into a monster, begged the young mistress to help him. It was obvious to the girl. If he swallowed the stone with his brother's power, he would die soon. The fear, which she had forgotten, was rekindled inside her. This nightmare reminded Ruby of her days in the north. She felt dread. She didn't want it to end like this. The moment fear made her shrink, she saw tears in Sion's eyes. He hugged her tightly. The boy wanted to protect his sister, trembling with fear, but still trying to protect her. Calming down, Rachel understood that if she let fear dominate her, Sion would also be in danger. With all her strength, the dragon girl unleashed her fire, warning that it would hurt a little. Suddenly, Carmel felt a brutal impact and was sent flying. The blow hit him squarely on the forehead. Incredible, it was a frozen stone. Someone is trying to destroy his peaceful existence, and to achieve it, he even ventured so deep into the forest. Arriving at the speed of wind, the she-wolf ordered him not to touch her children. Eva was furious that this chameleon dared to touch them. Noelle couldn't even stop her. She wanted to show the idiot who he was messing with, but Rachel was trying to explain the danger to him. Surprisingly, Carmel's body is burning with fever. Due to the infernal heat, Eva couldn't hold him. Her hands burned instantly. Fortunately, she is fine. Only her clothes got slightly scorched. Carmel's presence astonished Noelle. Because of his condition, he ate the red stone. What happened made Rachel tremble with fear. She believed they were in imminent danger. Thinking of his origin, Noelle deduced that it must be a stone with its own power. Seeing Carmel's state, it's obvious there was a lot of energy there. The master's life is in danger, but Sir Rainier couldn't do anything. He knew his abilities would only make things worse. At that desperate moment, and despite the danger, Eva ran determinedly to the injured man to help him. She couldn't let him die, having the power to extract the heat with her own magic. Staring in amazement at her amazing magical abilities, Noelle couldn't understand how it was possible. Next, Carmel woke up in an unfamiliar room. Thinking he had died, a blue-eyed beauty who suddenly entered brought him back to reality. She noticed he had woken up. When the girl touched his forehead to check if he had a fever, she looked like an angel. She gave the young man a medicine capable of eliminating the remaining heat. Then Carmel became convinced he was in paradise, with no bosses or work problems. Just as Noelle entered with plants, the young man finally saw the boss. After receiving the best medicinal herbs, Eva set about preparing an infusion. At that instant, the dragon's eyes filled with fury. He wanted to hear that bastard's excuses. The captain will not blame them for trying to bring him back. Only for that. He perfectly understands what Carmel feels. That's why he acted that way. But the main problem is that Eva and the children were almost injured. Feeling his guilt, Carmel threw himself on the ground, willing to atone for his sin with his life. Just seeing that horror, Eva didn't understand anything, and her heart shrank instantly. Noelle knew he had to show his best face. He couldn't let what happened ruin everything. Trying to hide his flaws, he ordered the boy to lie down again, saying he had a fever. The captain was so tender and considerate that it seemed strange, as if he were pretending. After everything that happened, Carmel almost forgot that the angel girl had saved him. But ice magic is an ability of wolves, so everything is obvious. Since the girl used magic to lower the fever, the youth assumed she was a she-wolf. For some reason, this happens every time the protagonist meets someone from the south. The children, who ran in happily to see their brother, saved Eva from the awkward conversation. Sion quickly calmed the atmosphere, but Rachel suddenly needed a hug. If Noelle can't manage alone, she decided to help. Enough nonsense. The girl instantly improved, but said her brother should also cool down. And she proposed a group hug. Seeing how united they are, Carmel decided to find out what relationship exists between them. According to Eva, circumstances brought them together. There is no relationship. Contrary to what she says, Rachel reveals everything. In reality, Eva is his sister and his brother's friend. The protagonist couldn't believe that. From now on, Rachel considered her Noelle's friend. He thought he misheard because to call someone a friend, there should be something between her and Noelle. At the same time, Eva tried to convince herself that there is nothing between them. After thinking it over, she considered the possibility that Rachel referred to a friendship between the North and the South. There are cultural differences. The same word can have different meanings. For example, in the West, tigers eat grass. They say it works wonders for immunity. It couldn't be otherwise, so Eva has to explain everything very clearly to her sister. Upon hearing that his sister is now Noelle's friend, Sion also decided to call Carmela a friend. From the way the young mistress treats them, it was clear to the chameleon that they cannot be wolves. Despite the rather rude question, Noelle was not surprised at all. Seeing him, you would never say something is wrong. It's hard to understand why Rachel called the girl her friend. He asked her to hug him again after the young man felt better. And not wanting to bother, she decided to leave. When saying goodbye, Eva asked him to take care of himself and to visit her if he passed by. There might not be a next time. In such a short time, the protagonist met many Southerners, but she doubted whether the word friend meant the same thing in the South as in the North. Out of curiosity, The girl asked if it was possible for Northerners and Southerners to use the same words. Noelle couldn't answer before they noticed that Rachel had gone somewhere. Noelle followed her, thinking she was saying goodbye to Carmel, and Eva decided to inspect the house and surroundings. In reality, Carmel found it suspicious that the captain now had a friend. In other words, that girl is his future life partner. Everything will change soon. The youth must return and tell the people of the South as soon as possible. They must know that the captain plans to take his partner and her brother to the South. At that instant, a brilliant flash illuminated Carmel. A phoenix almost landed on his head. He barely remembered that it was his lady's bird. When the dragon siblings emerged from the trees, after thinking about it for a while, Noelle decided to find out what this man thought about Eva's power. Chameleon was sure that she had the most powerful ice power he had ever seen. However, according to Noelle, before taking her south, some preparations had to be made. In a situation where a dragon appears in the north and forces its inhabitants to go south, they will flee out of fear. In that case, Carmel decided to speak to the people so that the benefactor and her brother would have a worthy reception. And another point is what the Southerners will think if Eva and her brother are presented as mages from the north. Possibly people will take them for wolves, since mages often are. Chameleon had the task of explaining to them that mages are not wolves, to avoid misunderstandings. The captain completely entrusted this task to him, and Carmel promised to try his best. Soon it became known that there was a person capable of controlling the captain's inner fire. The gentleman found it hard to believe that an ice mage he had never met existed. Determined to find out where she lives at all costs, he wanted to check if she was truly human. This situation seemed strange to him, so he made the decision to go south, whatever happens. One day, flames consumed the south, and sadness overwhelmed everyone. The day came when the previous master and his wife died due to the uncontrolled power of the current master. The boy promised himself that he would do everything for his master and the young mistress. To help him, he gathered the greatest ice mages in the world and even secretly conspired with a mixed-breed werewolf. It was all in vain, and now a mage capable of controlling the master's power has appeared. It must be a trap by the disgusting wolves, the legend said so. Feeling his responsibility, the master felt it was his duty to protect the captain. Meanwhile, the library had nothing useful, and Eva always shopped there. It would be great if they had good books for children. It would be a salvation. But since they reduced the selection, Eva doesn't even find anything for herself anymore. She looks for books about the human world, longing to know if there is one that helps get there. Since Noelle is the boss of the South, the girl assumes he has a private library. In reality, the captain is not sure. He had never asked him. So, Eva decides to ask one more time about words with situational meanings. It turns out that the word friend in the South is used for the brother's wife. But when Rachel called Eva friend, Noelle and Carmel didn't utter a peep. With a confused face, the captain said that the word friend almost means that. The protagonist was right to think what she was thinking when Rachel called her that, but nobody reacted, and Noelle felt pity for the awkward situation. He wanted to correct his sister, but he couldn't speak, hoping it was true. The young man was sure that Eva noticed his lack of control over his powers. That's why he endangered her and his people, causing great disasters in the South. It's all due to his parents, to having been born with only one heart. According to Eva, dragons are usually born with two and control their powers. Noelle causes suffering to his loved ones. Fear consumes him when losing valuable things. He cannot stop thinking that this could happen again. Many tried to help him, but nothing worked. In the end, the only solution was for Noelle to have to use different restraint devices. The stronger he gets, the harder it becomes to control. And then he met her. When they touched, a sudden burst of absolute power enveloped him. Nobody could control his power like Eva did. In the end, although it sounds childish, the young man could only ask her to stroke his hair, because only then does he feel that strange cold for him. That is the reason why Noelle did not object when Rachel called the girl her friend. But most importantly, he couldn't say how much he liked her hugs. Now the heroine understood everything. How good that her strength, which she thought useless, can help Noelle. But she is just a secondary character who disappeared quite quickly from the plot. For herself, who was burned, for Sion, who suffered, she cannot agree to help Noelle out of simple sympathy. Now that Rachel's memories have returned, she can leave for the South. Eva must think about how to enter the human world before it becomes more difficult. The only thing she can do for Noelle is hope that he finds his soulmate. Upon finally arriving in the north, the Lord of the South couldn't help but notice how cold it was here. How reckless of him not to think about the weather before traveling north. He has no money on him, so he can't even buy a basic set of winter clothes. In the north, they wouldn't even give him credit. Those damned wolves kicked him out without him being able to get dressed. It is so cold that fire won't catch. No matter what happens, the wolves will never conquer the dragon's heart. The old man couldn't believe that the captain's other half lived in such a place. He must have used a clever trick. Suddenly, a child approached him and asked if he was cold. How unexpected. The boy assumed the gentleman was frozen, but he chased away the curious youngster. Seeing that he had a runny nose, Sion, without thinking twice, gave him his warm scarf. And although the old man tried to show that he wasn't cold, the scarf was incredibly warm. Thinking that he had to return it, he agreed to borrow it for a moment. In the conversation, it turned out that the child chased a kitten and got lost, without realizing it. For the old man, this meant he gave the scarf so they would help him find his sister. However, Sion asserted that it wasn't true, as the gentleman also offered him help upon learning he was in trouble. His sister says that if you are kind to someone, someday you will be rewarded. The old man truly did not expect to find such a good child in the north. It doesn't matter if he is a wolf. The master swore by his honor that he will not abandon him until he finds his sister. However, everything was resolved much more easily. The sister herself suddenly appeared near them. Furious, Eva reminded her brother that he shouldn't run away alone. Now the old man finally saw the boy's older sister, but he was surprised to see the captain. And Rachel, being this way, then she is the partner Carmelo told them about. Obviously, such an elegant and kind girl is human. The uncle felt bad for having suspected her. Thanking the boy for his kindness, he was sure that soon he would receive the reward he deserved for being good. The old man no longer needs the scarf. Now he no longer feels cold. Thinking about it, it doesn't seem strange. At least they wanted to believe that. What luck! Eva thought she would have to look for Sion all day and wouldn't be able to buy food. Fortunately, the little ones have become real helpers. Eva kept thinking about the words Noel had told her that morning. She got lost in doubts about whether it would be right to ignore his words. While thinking about it, the girl witnessed a brutal attack in an alley. The poor she-wolf asserted that she hadn't let herself be seen nor caused any disturbances. From the conversation, the protagonist heard that mixed bloods are arrested and interrogated. They accuse the she-wolf of sneaking into the human world and threatening the reputation of the wolves. The young man's blood boils, just thinking that those damned humans can despise them. Ordering her to stop, the captain wanted to ask the girl a question. He proposed cooperation in exchange for her and her brother being safe. Captain Ed wanted to know if she knew his blood brothers, the ones with white hair and blue eyes. Fleeing from there, Eva hoped she had misunderstood them, wishing they weren't looking for her. And Sion, judging by the fact that they need blue eyes and white hair, it's possible they are looking for them. After all, so, the heroine decided to leave the north in a hurry, but she didn't know what illegal immigration methods existed. They can't just move to another place without first obtaining a permit. Suddenly, Noel entered the room with his brother and sister. Eva had arrived before them. She said she was just looking for something and asked them to wait in the living room. Seeing the books about the human world behind her back, the children immediately understood that she wanted to move. According to Rachel, everyone knows she is trying to find a way to go there, so there's no point in hiding it. Understanding how hard it is for her sister to live in a foreign land, the girl proposed going there together. The memories of when Ruby was there with her brother are blurry, so she is not sure if she remembers everything. If she is not mistaken, her brother once told her that in the South, there is a passage that leads to the human world. They signed an agreement and built the passage to make travel easier for the inhabitants. They say there is an illegal way of immigration. There is, but Eva is not sure if the South is safe for them. Her secret is not yet revealed, but the truth will come to light. Taking the girl's hand, Noel asked if she would do him the honor of accompanying her and Sion to the human world. He couldn't allow others to spread rumors that they were wolves just because they came from the north. Taking advantage of the situation, Noel decided to take Rachel home to the south. That is enough for him. And on the way, Rachel proposed that her sister come to her house. She wanted to see her and Sion as much as possible. Eva also always wanted to see her. Maybe this is their last chance. If she keeps hesitating, the only way to the south will close. They will see each other less and end up being strangers. Children forget quickly, especially promises. In reality, Rachel's plan is not to allow Eva to enter the human world. Under no circumstances. Very soon, she planned to turn the girl into her familiar. Eva will not go to the human world, because Rachel will make her love the South and forget everything else. That night, the wolf captain was informed that the man he wanted to see had been brought in. Finally, Ed met the herb merchant, who bought the immunity herb from the doctor. The captain likes the doctor's kindness and devotion, so he wants to give him a chance to start over. But this dirty man is not a doctor, but only a distributor. In that case, Ed ordered him to tell everything he knew about the man who gave it to him. The youth never saw his face clearly, as he wore a mask in every encounter. This individual is quite thin. Most likely, it is a girl forcing her voice. She has white hair. These reports match the testimony of a businessman. The subject the captain is looking for is suspected of aiding illegal immigration to the human world. And the distributor is one of those who helped her commit this crime. And although the youth claims he didn't know, ignorance does not exempt him from responsibility. Now Ed can finally help her. That beautiful white-haired girl, named Eva. Before moving, the paperwork must be settled, so Noelle decided to return to the South for a couple of days. That night, under the burning moon, Eva saw Noelle's true face and its beauty for the first time. Then she was sure that if they managed to leave the North, they could live independently. If Rachel returns home safe and sound, they won't need to see each other anymore, so he won't take them to the human world. For the first time in her life, thinking about that, Eva felt incredible lightness. She felt stupid, since she couldn't even take care of herself, let alone others. But she believed that Noelle wouldn't need her powers anymore if he ever found his destiny. Until they reached the human world, Eva decided to help him when he asked. That will be the payment for all the good he has done them. Today, the wolf captain was going to investigate. It was his first case as captain. He couldn't shirk it, as he was responsible for the execution. Since they were leaving anyway, Ed proposed taking a look at that place. At that instant, a young man burst into the room. The captain had received an urgent message. This is urgent. It is something incredibly important. It turns out a letter arrived from the dragon captain. Noel Ramier and his subordinates will visit the northern forests in 3 days, sending the location. Since the captain of the South does not plan to stay long, he doesn't need special ceremonies. The assistant interpreted this communication as a total lack of respect for the North. Moreover, it is very suspicious that he asks not to organize a welcome ceremony. Edmund was very curious, so he needed that damned dragon. He decided to see him with his own eyes. The children packed things quickly and now wanted to go play for a while. They won't need many things at first. They can buy everything necessary in the human world. Hearing the children's cry, Eva ran out and saw that something had happened. An entire flock of bloodthirsty dragons attacked the house. No one understood what was happening. Emerging from his entourage, Noel arrived to claim his beloved. Seeing him, Eva panicked. The first thing she wanted to know was who all these people were. The captain's trusted men will help them get to the South as quickly as possible, although there aren't many of them. Seeing that the preparations exhausted her, Noel sent the girl to rest, taking on everything else himself. Sion already imagined that they would leave the North soon, and surprisingly, he won't miss it. As long as his sister is by his side, he doesn't care where they are. Eva didn't care where she was with him either. Soon they would move to a warm place they would love. One of the dragons has only lived in the South since childhood, so he has no idea what the North is like. But it seems incredible. Suddenly, Eva heard others suspecting her and her brother for living alone in the forest. For some reason, the people of the South call her the South Captain's partner, and believe this is the perfect place for the wedding. Not knowing where this rumor came from, the girl wanted to explain everything. At that instant, the one who read that the South Captain didn't want ceremonies appeared. He was curious to know what urgent matter forced Captain Noel to run like that. Now Edmund had it clear. The person responsible for illegal immigration is in the South. It's obvious that Noel despises wolves. He gave them false coordinates to wait. As Ed supposed, the South Captain plans to obtain information from the northern wolves. But the most important thing is the white-haired girl, known by her name, Eva. There is no possible mistake, it is her. Finally, the wolf captain has found her. Sensing danger, Noel approached from behind and grabbed Edmundo tightly. Fear appeared in Sion's eyes. They lived isolated all this time, as the captain wanted. And now, the only thing Eva wished was for those people to leave them alone once and for all. It was Ed who ordered them to disappear from his sight, and that is exactly what they did. Just as he suspected, it was Eva with her brother, who wanted to illegally cross into the human world. The real reason the North Captain was looking for her was because he missed her. It's not hard to guess that these Southerners agreed to help them go to the human world in exchange for a favor. If the reason for his decision lay in a misunderstanding between them, Ed has changed, and he is ready to protect Eva. Hearing that, Noelle thought there must be some mistake, because the truth is that Eva is not going to the human world, but to the South with him. It doesn't matter if Ed has changed or what power he has obtained, Eva simply does not want to stay here. Thinking about it, if Ed were in her place, he wouldn't want to live with so many restrictions either. But the girl never imagined that he sought that position, knowing that she suffered because of racism. At that instant, panic invaded the heroine, fearing that everyone would discover that she and her brother are mixed bloods. Suddenly, Rachel called Carmel and pointed out her sister to him. Happy to see the captain's companion, the young man said that things were charged. It was time to leave. Upon hearing that others called Eva the South Captain's partner, Edmund gasped. To settle that stupid argument, the girl admitted that she was Noelle's partner. It was the only way to keep the wolf away, planning to explain everything to Noelle upon arriving in the South. She felt terribly sorry for bothering him again, but he understood everything. Launching his magic bird into the air, Noelle finally opened the way to a bright future. It's time to leave for the South. It seems this day will be remembered for a long time. But Ed was indignant and demanded the truth from Eva, asking if she was being threatened, assuring that this guy was dangerous. He was convinced that she didn't even imagine the atrocities a dragon was capable of. However, Edmund is the one who made her life miserable. He is much more despicable. Watching the dragons ascend, cutting the northern sky, the captain understood that he could not protect Eva. His father, former captain of the North, taught him that mixed bloods were not wolves. Everyone around him despised them. That's why Ed also did. But when their eyes met for the first time, he didn't know she was a despicable mixed blood. Seeing her beauty, he couldn't help but feel fascinated by her. Then, the boy was too young to understand that he had grown fond of her. Guilt gnawed at him for feeling something for a mixed blood. He was terrified, as many were watching him. But Edmundo still doesn't forgive himself for what he did to her. Since then, he lives in regret. On the way home, he decided that he had to grow up and become captain soon, so that no one would hurt Eva. He swore he would make sure she was by his side, under his protection. Since you cannot catch one who flies, the North Captain decided to return. It's useless here, so he ordered the selection of a couple of agile subordinates to follow the wolves secretly. Ed knew that Eva had impure blood, so she could get out of control. No one knows if those cruel dragons will take advantage of her weakness to brainwash her. Abandoned, the only thing Ed can do is continue searching for her tirelessly. The journey to the South brought incredible emotions with it. It was a long-awaited day. Eva didn't even imagine that she would go to the land of the dragons of her own free will. When they almost arrived, Noelle suddenly suggested she look down, where there was a beautiful view. And if she didn't mind, he was going to hold her hand. It's not because of her fever. He wants to show the girl many beautiful things, as she trusted him. The captain said this in the hope that she would only have happy memories before going to the human world. Noelle is very good, but the question is whether he will remain so if he discovers that Eve is mixed blood. He didn't suspect anything before, but there is a risk that he will discover the truth. Suddenly, Rachel said that what her sister is thinking will never happen. The girl noticed that something worried her and assumed she was afraid of falling. For a moment, Eve thought this girl could read minds, but in reality, Rachel is always on her side. Now they have the opportunity to enjoy the sky view together. Even as a child, my mother used to say that dragons are not as terrible as they seem. Since she had never seen them, Eva thought she had no idea. But her great-grandmother told that they were kind, although that was a long time ago. But the story has reached our days. They say dragons are very delicate. That's why my mother always said that Eva should be kind to dragons, if she ever found one. And that way, she would surely be well-liked too. Upon arriving in the South, as if it were the tropics, the wolves thought they were in paradise. The protagonist didn't imagine the South like this. She couldn't believe there were so many flowering plants. Sion saw a butterfly for the first time and knew its name. Before, Eva had only seen them in books. Playing with the winged creature, the boy accidentally bumped into a gentleman and apologized immediately. The uncle hoped the little one was okay. The last time, he couldn't introduce himself as he should have. Hopper serves under the captain's command. It is late, but he begged them to accept his gratitude for the help. In the novel, he is a complex guy. He hates wolves, and the heroine feels uncomfortable with him around. If they need anything, Hopper insisted that they notify him without hesitation. He didn't expect the girl to ask for a scroll book, something that only exists in the South. According to him, they have a library of scrolls, but now it will be difficult to access it. First, Hopper ordered the girl to take the antidote and change into light clothing, suitable for the South. Then, to take a look around, while the department head caught up on pending matters. Here Eva felt at home, all because she is the commander's companion. Suddenly, the servant asked why the girl wanted to go to the library, promising to help her choose books. The heroine made it clear. She didn't find books about the South and the North, so she came here. And now, she dreams of reading The Legend of the Dragons to help Noelle. Hopper says that the captain would be content with her presence, but knowing the history is also good. Eva knew very well that if they found out, Sion would be in danger. And Noelle too. What a pity. But she is terrible at controlling her emotions. It seems hopeless. The very first thing the girl did was start with the history of the southern Caspian continent. History tells that God rules the heavens, death the world, and humans the earth. The dragons, whose lives border on immortality, descended to this world. At first they couldn't adapt, but thanks to their wisdom and the red dragon, they managed to settle safely in the south. However, confrontations between the mountain dragons soon increased, and the beastmen began to suffer. And that is why they asked the strongest red dragon to be their leader. He had a noble heart, so he accepted. Meanwhile, some humans and wolves mistakenly thought that the dragons had taken the south. The leader was wounded after falling into a malicious human trap, and a wolf took advantage of the situation to steal his heart. The first dragon could not handle the excess of his power, with only one heart. His situation was critical. That's why the dragons traveled north to recover the heart, but they failed to find that wolf. In the end, the leader of the dragons passed away, and thus the war between the north began. And the south. The war ended thanks to the intervention of the leader of the Western Mermaids and the leader of the Eastern Lions, following the declaration that the wolf had sold the heart to a dragon hunter. A second war broke out between the South and the human world. Due to all these events, the world of humans and beasts separated. It was impossible to restore the good relationship between the North and the South. The location of the heart remained and remains unknown. After reading the history, Eva found not a single clue. She kept thinking whether the Eva from the novel could influence Noelle's fervor for being a she-wolf with that heart. It's impossible, otherwise she wouldn't have died from Rachel's fire. Dragon fire cannot burn a heart as strong as Noelle's. The more the girl thinks about it, the more entangled she gets in her musings. Suddenly, Rachel's voice was heard, saying that Sion had fallen asleep. It had been a busy day. It seems Eva is also exhausted, having fallen asleep at the table, normal, with so much work on her shoulders. The young woman thought she should take her sister to her quarters, although better to the bridal chamber. Once, as a child, while picking herbs in the forest, her father showed her a flower created with magic. Eva started to complain, saying she was already frozen and it was time to pick the herb. There was heavy snowfall in the forest, and they had to collect and dream of returning soon. But suddenly, the snow stopped, and the girl believed her father had that power. Immediately after, Eva woke up, realizing she was wearing different clothes. She was going to run to find the children as soon as possible, but Noelle told her they were sleeping. Being in her quarters, he anxiously hoped that the young woman had rested well. And although the lady wanted to leave immediately, for the captain it is natural that she is there. Because everyone in the palace believes Eva is his partner, and he did not prepare separate rooms for her. Not to bother, the young man was going to leave, but suddenly he felt unwell. He almost fell to the ground. He just has a slight fever. Eva promised to help him at every possible opportunity. Since arriving in the South, the captain hasn't rested. He must have been working hard. Today he is truly exhausted, but he is happy about his beloved's presence. Noticing his flushed face, the girl thought his fever was rising. In reality, the young man didn't blush because of the temperature. It wasn't that at all. It was because he dared to ask Eva if she would allow him to hug her. Noelle's thoughts are already confused. He only asked for a hug for an instant. Maybe in his arms he can calm down. It's just a hug. The heroine was trying to convince herself of that. Pressing against his chest, she heard his heart beating and for a moment forgot to breathe. Torturing herself with conjectures, why was it like this? Eva feared admitting that she was the cause of his restlessness. Showing courage, she decided to ask. Perhaps it will turn out badly, but she wants to know. The girl asked if Noel wasn't curious, why he wasn't in beast form, and lived in the north. Doubts tormented her about whether he would like her when he found out she was a mixed blood. Seeing surprise in his eyes, Eva regretted asking that question. She justified it by saying she was tired and rambling. Losing her balance, the girl suddenly fell onto her beloved. She never thought what to do in that situation, so she just apologized and said she would get up. But at that instant, Noel hugged her tightly. He was truly curious. He wanted to know everything about her. What was Eva like as a child? What was her favorite food? What thoughts were on her mind? Perhaps there was something she preferred to keep silent, so the young man wasn't going to force her. But whatever happens, Noel's feelings for her would not change. This led Eva to remember when she was little. She loved spending time with her father. They made ice flowers and played. Her father was human, but she believes he could control ice. It didn't always turn out well. Sometimes the spells failed and the snow melted. While she recounted that she studied medicinal herbs because of her father, Noel listened calmly and smiled until he fell asleep. Although Eva couldn't confess she was a mixed blood, her smile seemed to say that he would accept her. Whoever it was, Julia Carrot, with good hearing and a love for reading, fits perfectly. Ruby chose her as a servant for her sister and ordered Phoenix to communicate it to the servants. That night, Sion sleepily entered the room to find out why the girl wasn't sleeping. The first thing Rachel noticed was that he had grown ears and a tail. It's too hot here, so he relaxed, but he must hide them very well. Suddenly, Sion remembered his sister. According to Ruby, she is already in her quarters. Now the boy has his own room. Although they always slept together, now he will have to learn to sleep alone. In reality, the boy also wanted to be an adult, strong and muscular like his brother. Then he will have to follow the rules. First, he cannot go to his sister's room at night. After hearing that, tears rolled down Sion's cheeks. He can't sleep alone. He is afraid of the dark. Knowing this, Ruby told him to go to her room, which is opposite when he is scared. It turns out the boy is a coward and used to say he would protect his little sister. In her eyes, he is just a fool, and yet he knows how to write. The next morning, Eva woke up face to face with the South Captain. Embarrassed, she jumped out of bed, but Noel was already awake. He wanted to steal her time for a while, in the mornings. It seems the temperature is rising. Since the girl fell asleep yesterday, she had to hug him, but she completely forgot she was in his bed. Hugging Eva is the best thing, and Noel said it out loud. Suddenly, the door burst open. A new maid enters, apologizing for interrupting. Hoping to get along, the girl introduces herself as Julia Carrot, the new maid. Since she is a rabbit, her hearing is sharper than others. Surely the lady told her about this peculiarity. Today, Julia meets her mistress for the first time, so she is a bit nervous. Therefore, upon hearing their conversation, the girl imagined a totally scandalous scene. In any case, it is an honor to serve Eva. Now they finally know each other. Before leaving, Noel offered her something special, but the girl hasn't woken up yet, so she is not hungry. Julia was fascinated by this sweet couple. In a short time, the table was full of exquisite dishes. It's hard to believe it's just breakfast, and not even the food. The protagonist loved the food so much that she wanted the recipe. Eva found the balm Noel chose great. It was new to her. Smelling the magical aroma, she knew the young man also used perfume. It's no wonder he always smells so good, right? With those thoughts, Eva blushed and said it was hot. In reality, she remembered the night before. Noticing it, Noel wanted to know more. The girl was etched in his mind as someone incredibly sweet and charming. But she denied that. She said she meant something else, that she just liked his aroma. Her younger brother rescued her from the awkward conversation. Sion burst in shouting. The little one was proud. He slept alone. Fortunately, there were no disasters. Sion is already a grown man, and right behind him, two agitated boys burst into the dining room. These adorable boys are now their friends. They could barely keep up with the fast young man. When Ruby ran into the living room, panting, she sighed upon seeing how fast the boy runs. Or rather, she is slow and cannot keep up with him. Eva could not ignore her. Her girl was also growing up. Rachel felt that if her sister wasn't nearby, she would have nightmares. But last night, she dreamed beautiful things. This carefree scene warmed Noel's heart. Everyone is having a great time. Since their parents left them, it's the first time he's seen Rachel smile like that. For this warmth and love that took root in Rachel's heart, Noel was grateful to Eva. And Sion, this girl makes everyone around her happy. What Noel wanted before, he no longer cares about. He dreams of Eva being his wife, the only one who will be with him until the end, his eternal love. Just as he was doubting, the captain felt an external touch, the touch of feminine hands. The girl who wrapped him in a veil of fears and suspicions dared to suggest that Eva is lying. Panicked, the young man turned around, but only saw the servant standing behind him. He was tormented by the feeling that he had heard that voice somewhere before. After the banquet, the new maid spread rumors that he might have died. That was exactly what she thought explained why the captain was smiling so much today. And although some didn't believe it, she asserted that he had done quite well. Unexpectedly, Julia witnessed how the lady and the gentleman hugged tightly this morning. As another maid thought, no matter how curious she was, one should not listen to such things. Julia believed it was good news, but the lady thought that all maids like her were naive. The manager Maria couldn't imagine who could handle the captain like that. And also, she remembered that a maid shouldn't go down to the kitchen and that the girls should wash the dishes. This is really nonsense. Normally Julia is not that talkative. Since too much food was left over, Maria thought the northerners were too demanding. Suddenly, she was informed that they were waiting for her outside. Hopper wanted to see her. Seeing him on the street, the lady thought he wanted to praise her. And so it was. The guests loved her food. But then Maria didn't understand why they finished nothing. It turned out the girl had been very tired these last few days. That's why she still has no appetite. Knowing that Milady wanted to go to the kitchen and learn to cook, Maria thought she was lucky. Meanwhile, only noon remained on the way to the palace. That means Edmund will find her very soon, his Eva. It was a warm and sunny noon. Noel was still extremely busy. Sion is fascinated with his new friends, and Rachel likes Eva more than expected. The heroine feared their encounter would be like in the novel, but now she only wishes him happiness. Little Red Riding Hood and the she-wolf did not have that relationship in the story. Perhaps they will become good friends. The aroma of the kitchen floods everything. According to Julia, there will be turkey for dinner today. Eva hoped every day would be peaceful. But on that fateful day, she suddenly encountered someone who marked her childhood. Seeing Edmund in front of her, the young woman understood that a peaceful life was only a dream. Feeling his touch, Eva wondered what he was doing and why he was in the south. At that instant, a furious dragon girl intervened. Controlling fire, she ordered him to stay away from her sister. That is the very sister of the South Chief, who is pursuing Edmund. She found it disgusting and ridiculous that they still thought he could reason with Eva. While Rachel tried to understand what that meant, the North captain vanished and reappeared behind her. Something terrible happened before everyone's eyes. An extraordinary force repelled Rachel, and the girl fell unconscious. According to Edmund, even if she is a dragon, she is still small, which does not imply her participation in the rebellion. To calm the fears of those present, he said the girl had only lost consciousness. He will not hurt her. But what shocked Eva the most was the proposal to return, as it is too dangerous in the south. A desperate Julia suddenly grabbed the captain by the neck and shouted at them to flee from there. With her action, she forced the captain's assistant to push her, and the girls screamed from the impact. Then Edmund ordered the young man to clean up there, while he thought about taking Eva away. At that instant, an unprecedented fury ignited in the eyes of the she-wolf, ready to kill that bastard. Believing they had successfully deceived Eva, the captain asked her to hold on a little longer. It was time to say goodbye. At that fateful moment, the enraged she-wolf grabbed him by the neck, saying that no one deceived her. Looking into the eyes of that scoundrel, the girl surrounded his neck with her ice magic, thinking he was a soulless being. A wild torrent of absolute power surrounded them, exploding outwards like a nuclear bomb. There was dust everywhere. The South captain's subordinates could not understand what had happened there. When the mist gradually began to dissipate, Eva, perplexed, emerged from the clouds. With her own hands, she had created something amazing, but it is not yet clear what had happened there. The North captain opened his eyes, finding himself tied up in an unknown room. Eva wished to stay alone with him and asked his subjects to leave, determined to clarify certain things. As for why everything had ended like this, the girl didn't even try to explain the situation to him. She used ice magic to kill him, but something prevented her. To be precise, Ed's ability. Apparently the heroine had encountered something similar before. Now that everything is over, that no longer matters. The first thing is to deal with him. It's the first time they speak like this. Normally, Eva ran away from him. When she decided to find out why Ed pursued or hated her, he declared that it was not so. He sincerely apologized for what he did when they were children. He understands why the girl accuses him. Edmund only wanted her to give him a chance. But Eva doesn't want him. It's no use to her. Even if every wolf begs for her forgiveness, she will not return to the north. Because for her it is hell. Because Eva is a mixed blood. No one searched for her missing father, and her mother gave birth without a doctor. Without losing hope of winning her back, Ed swore to find her aggressors and bring them before her, including himself. Undoubtedly, now he is willing to do anything for that she-wolf. Eva's brother didn't remember their parents, so he used to ask if they had abandoned them. The girls said they were anxiously awaiting their arrival, but they had to go far away for work. And Sion only needs to sleep 1,000 nights, after which they will return. But since then, he stopped asking about his parents. Eva thought he was counting the nights, but it wasn't like that. Sion, understanding it alone, understanding that they were no longer in this world, caused Eva great pain. Since Edmund is willing to do anything for the girl, she proposed saving her parents. The only thing she wanted was for her brother to be able to see them. After hearing that, Ed was speechless. He regretted it, but it was too late. Not counting this as an apology, Eva begged the captain not to come near her and to forget her. If Ed regrets it a little, he must erase the mixed-blood she-wolf from his mind forever. With a heavy heart, the heroine left the room when she suddenly saw Rachel on the street. She couldn't believe the little one had woken up, and bombarded her with questions about how she felt. Surprisingly, Rachel was laconic. She said she was fine. At that instant, a heartbreaking female scream was heard. Julia almost went crazy when she learned that the lady stayed with the wolf. The maid wanted to know if he had hurt her, but Eva asked her to stop bothering her. Barely an instant later, the heroine wanted to speak with her sister again, but she had disappeared without a trace. Everything was quickly resolved, but upon receiving the terrible news, the dragons erupted in fury. They had a powerful motive to lay waste to the north, but Rachel stopped them dead. Ed disappeared before they could find him, leaving only a handwritten letter of apology. Eva no longer wants to get involved, now that everything is resolved, but she doesn't understand why Rachel stopped them. She longs to ask the girl for contact and confirm that her secret is safe, but she was acting strangely. In the hallway, the lady ran into Julia. The maid had recovered and decided to return to work. Lately, that little one visits her frequently, and she feeds him secretly. Maybe he is a beastman, but the maid doesn't know how to talk to him, and if he is very young. She begged not to tell anyone, as she feared being immediately kicked out. Then, Eva assumed that the young woman was fed up with her daily routine, or that she missed her family. Suddenly, Julia ran off and rushed somewhere, asking the lady to wait. An instant later, she returned with provisions and brought with her an especially expensive wine. According to her, when there are too many thoughts, one can forget, and alcohol is the best for that. That night, investigating the scene, Noel found no trace of magic, but he heard that Eva subdued the North Chief. Although, as is known, it is difficult for a mixed blood to confront a pure-blood wolf. Furthermore, not a single trace of magic remained, as if they had completely vanished. Even if her father was human, Eva can use ice magic, although sometimes she isn't very good at it. Realizing something, the South Captain ordered Hopper to prepare a secret letter. As the recipient, the Lord chose the King of Humans. Upon returning, Noel suddenly heard urgent news about his beloved. A while ago, that same afternoon, the girls chose a good place to meet. Suddenly, Eva blurted out the question. What would Julia do if she knew she was going to be killed? It is a serious question. In that situation, anyone would hide, I suppose. But this crazy one, personally, would try to fight tooth and nail. She believes that fleeing fate solves nothing, because she knows what is going to happen. Julia would rather face fate head-on, so as not to have regrets. Although, of course, instead of facing it directly, she could try to attack by surprise and flee. After those words, Eva drank the glass of wine in one gulp, something unusual. The maid helped her, but the protagonist kept thinking about how to avoid fate. She doesn't know what would happen to Noel and Rachel if she and Sion left. Those two would face the tragedy of the book. Eva, thinking this is not the best ending, wants a better future for them. That night, the girls did not expect to see Maria, who was still wondering where the wine went. Seeing how Julia fared, Eva commented that the aroma of the wine was simply exquisite. Since the lady knows how to drink, Maria offered her a better drink and suitable appetizers. That's how it was discovered that Captain Ramirez's companion was very drunk. Under the influence of alcohol, she told a story where she fell in love with the person who turned out to be her brother, lost 10 years ago. In addition, the The girl asked her subjects to call her by her name when they drank. Since they are all friends, Eva was so absorbed in the fun and drinking that she barely noticed Noel's arrival. Wanting to know who had gotten her so drunk, the Lord only received an invitation to have a drink in response. According to Maria, the lady liked the wine they prepared, so they gladly invited her to taste it. The servants struggled to prevent her from drinking too much, but everything got out of hand. Affirming that drinking a lot is bad for health, Noel snatched the jug from her and squeezed her hands. In his arms, Eve felt so warm that she melted instantly against his chest. It had been so long since she drank that the alcohol seemed incredibly sweet to her. Thinking it was time to sleep, the girl transformed into a she-wolf in front of everyone. The servants were stunned, but Noel promised to explain what they had seen later. Furthermore, he warned that if anyone told before him, they would pay with their head. Through her clouded consciousness, Eve believed she was in the grass, but Noel laughed, saying they were in the bedroom. If it was him, the girl calmed down immediately. Now everything is fine because he is her husband. Although she knew he wasn't real because she kept lying. Maybe their relationship would be different if she hadn't lied. The thought urged her to confess her big secret, longing to reveal it. Before dropping the bomb that would surprise Noel, she asked him to come closer. The next morning, she woke up in the captain's room with no memories. Seeing her awake, the gentleman offered her an excellent tea for the hangover. Noel looked so tired that Eva feared she had done something terrible last night. But she doesn't remember anything. Her memories simply vanished. Since Noel acts normal, she thought it was fatigue unrelated to her. When asking for more tea, she was so clumsy that she accidentally overturned the full kettle. Worried, Eva touched the captain, but he abruptly withdrew his hand. After saying he was just surprised, the gentleman left to ask a maid to change the sheet. On top of that, today he won't be able to have lunch with her because of a meeting. Everything points to him avoiding Eva. After that, for a week, not just talking, but even fleetingly crossing paths with Noel was almost impossible. She had already gotten used to the South. Or rather, the beastmen of the South had gotten used to her. Judging by their expressions, it was clear that they had hardly discovered her true identity. Wanting to know why Noel was avoiding her, Eva decided to ask the maid what had happened that day. With a look of astonishment, Julia tried to assure that absolutely nothing at all had happened. And although the girl kept changing the subject, Eva ordered her to tell the whole truth at once. A week earlier, the night before Eva woke up, Rachel found out that her little sister's identity had been discovered. They weren't faking ignorance. They were waiting for her to tell everything herself. From the beginning, they didn't care that Eva was a she-wolf because she saved Rachel and Noel and supported them. But due to the position of the dragons in society, no one would dare speak against her. So they just waited. That night, suddenly, a message from Hopper appeared, addressed to everyone living in the castle. To those who learned of the true nature of the captain's partner, revealed that night, he ordered them to be silent, and also to those who saw it with their own eyes, to keep silent until the lady told the truth. Whoever broke the order must be prepared to face the consequences. Rumors spread among the castle inhabitants. They feared that the lady would get angry like a she-wolf and attack. However, Julia asserted that the lady was not born that way by choice. Moreover, she rejected the North Chief. For the maid, Lady Eva is simply Lady Eva. Carmel also supported her, as he had never seen the chief happier. The beastmen changed their minds upon seeing many advantages in this union. Hopper expected a lot of negativity, but everyone is crazy about the lady. So he proposed keeping quiet until she completely opened her heart to them. The dragon's partner is a she-wolf, invaluable information for a common cat. Initially, Noel planned to take the girl to the room he shares with Sion. But then she grew ears, so the decision is already made. Before closing her eyes, Eva called her captain her partner. Of course, she didn't give much importance to those words, but Noel almost burst into flames from embarrassment. That night, she decided to lift the veil of mystery a little and tell her biggest secret. Under the influence of alcohol, her caution completely disappeared. As soon as Noel thought about calming her down, Eva clung to him with her lips. The truth is she only wanted to give him a good-night kiss. After that day, in every encounter with Eva, uncontrollable emotions invaded him. He cannot allow himself this without knowing if he might hurt her, so he decided to distance himself. But soon news reached him that the determined young lady wanted to talk. She knew Noel was busy, but felt they had to talk no matter what. Eva hinted that he was avoiding her, but the captain assured her that such a thing was not the case. The girl decided to ask directly If she had gone too far that night she drank. She has confusing memories, but she was sure that Noelle couldn't do the same to her. Begging that it wasn't a slap, the she-wolf asked the gentleman to change his anger for clemency. It seems even she doesn't know what she's talking about. She arrives at the office and asks them to do the same to her. At that instant, Noelle heard a voice in his head ordering him to catch and eat the girl. The voice told him to stop acting like a noble gentleman, to devour her whole, without leaving a trace. Suddenly, abruptly rising from the table, the gentleman asked the young woman to return to her quarters. He struggles so much to speak, so Eva deduces that something is deeply tormenting him. Barely touching him, thinking he had a fever, the enraged captain erupted in wrath. An unprecedented fury was reflected in his eyes. His face contorted into a savage grimace. Realizing what was happening, Noelle apologized and ran out to get some fresh air. Soon, the news that the dragon's partner was a she-wolf reached the ears of the West Chief, Ryan Neeler. Knowing that the matter was related to that dragon, the maid was the first to inform him. As a resident of the West, Mia Thun, of course, must tell the chief what she heard. She asserted that the probability of the information being unreliable was extremely low. However, for greater certainty, Mia was going to travel south and obtain irrefutable proof. She promised to get proof that, upon seeing it, even Ryan would have no choice but to believe. Accepting that Mia do things her way this time, the chief felt it would be very interesting. Soon, the cat girl finally arrived in the south. The view was simply fascinating. The time has come for her to finally act and earn a lot of money today. She has been wandering around there for so long, but the captain's partner still hasn't appeared. The girl learned that the dragons planted many apple trees. They care a lot about these things. She was distracted from her thoughts by a boy, attracted by the kitty's cute appearance. Mia recognized in him her partner's younger brother, a hunter as cunning as a wolf. Suddenly, she decided that if she flattered him, he would take her to Eva. So to action. Upon saying he had melted, Sion seemed to have no idea what cats were. Catching the poor creature in his arms, the boy was determined to save her at all costs. Seeing that his brother had brought a kitten into the room, Eva ordered him to take it back to the garden. Mia couldn't believe that finding the South Captain's partner would be so easy. After thanking the little wolf brother, she was curious about what the lady was reading. It turned out that Eva was reading dragon legends, so there is a reason why she wants to understand them. Mia assumed this was somehow related to that conversation between Eva and the maid. The situation with the subordinates and the North brothers seems more convoluted than she thought. The more complex the information, the more valuable it becomes. With the intention of getting closer to the lady, the cat girl planned to gain her trust even more. If she intends to get close, she must first share what she has. The ruler of the East, who sees the truth through everything, is a mermaid. Mia knows that the main virtue of a merchant is to instantly understand the needs of their customers. God wished for the earth to remain clean and without a single drop of lies. That is why mermaids, who can both walk on land and swim in the sea, are given eyes that penetrate the essence. When a fallen mermaid abused her eyes, God gave a merman a trident so he could finish her off. God issued a severe warning. If anyone decided to abuse the granted eyes, the gift would be withdrawn. And as his representative, God placed a blonde merman in the position of East Chief who punished the mermaid. Even in the original story, it was said that the only one who prevented Rachel from destroying the North was the leader of the mermaids. Aware that the truth about her essence would attract trouble, Eva knew it would eventually be revealed. Following that conversation, the South Chief has been in a deplorable state for days. Suddenly, the Lord remembered that Hopper had said he had a good relationship with his wife. Noelle decided to find out if he felt uncomfortable, because he was becoming impulsive when thinking about her. As if obsessed, he wanted to know if Hopper was also still hearing the unknown voice. All this is so strange that Noelle decided to take a walk outdoors to clear his head. He wanted to make sure Hopper remembered what to do if he suddenly experienced a power surge. In reality, the servant remembers everything. He couldn't forget her words. That night, Eva also decided to take a walk in the garden, when suddenly she ran into Noelle. It had been a long time since they saw each other. They barely crossed paths after his departure that day. Still, the girl was happy to see him in front of her, so she got up the courage to ask him how his day went. She just wanted to spend a little more time with him than usual. However, it's already late, so Noelle proposed talking tomorrow if she wanted to tell him something. Barely holding back tears, Eva tried to understand why he kept distancing himself. Without even bothering to look her in the eyes, The captain assured her that she was not to blame for anything. Angry, the girl told him to speak while looking her in the eyes, which made Niall blush instantly. With just one touch, it was clear that his body was burning incredibly. Eva was horrified that he hadn't called her with such a high fever. His entire body is burning. A single touch will not be enough. The heroine apologized first. The more she touches, the more effective her magic will be. She begged the captain to stay still until the heat subsided. Their burning gazes met for the first time in a long time. It was as if a magnet was drawing them together. Eva's delicate white skin, her fine features, her sweet lips and beautiful eyes, everything attracted Noel. He is so dizzy that he is unaware of his actions. The situation overcomes him. It is very late, so the captain asked the girl to return to her quarters. The heroine, until the last moment, hoped he would kiss her. Noel simply cannot do such a thing, but at that instant, she yearned for it. Face, ears, hands, every part that touched Noel burns as if scorched. After thinking it over, Eva wondered if she had experienced something similar when touching him before. The heat dissipated instantly, thanks to her ice magic. All this led her to think that a power burst was coming. She remembers that, in the original work, Noel's power exploded on the day of Rachel's inheritance ceremony. Perhaps because of Eva everything accelerated, but she is only a secondary character. When Noel finds his partner, she will have to leave and disappear from everyone's memory. By trying to stay by his side, she ceased to be just a secondary character. Sion saw his sister in the hallway and called her to sleep. But she was going to take a look somewhere. She was going to travel east to ask the mermaids who live there something. Sion knew it was dangerous and didn't understand why she was leaving, so he also wanted to go. Eva calmed him down, saying she would be back soon, when suddenly someone said they should take him with them. According to Mia, it is unknown how long it will take them to arrive, so her younger brother will be left alone. Seeing that strange unknown woman, Eva called Sion. Without knowing, they spent the whole day together. Results: it turns out she is that cat who has been hanging around the mansion for a long time, the only cat in the world capable of taking both of them to the east. There is a curious client about Eva's story, and it is the merchant's duty to satisfy the client. Mia asked them to consider her a means of transport, and it would be great if they paid the expenses. Without knowing whether this type can be trusted, as Eva thought, it is better than traveling alone. The cat girl felt it was urgent, but judging by the she-wolf's face, it doesn't seem like it. It is true, Eva is not in a position to question this method, not at all, since they will be together for a while. She insisted that she needed to know how to address this lady. The girl introduced herself as Mia Toon and asked to be called simply Mia. The heroine never wanted to be a companion, so she hoped not to negatively influence Noel. But if that suddenly happened, she would be forced to leave him. At night, Rachel suddenly woke up with tears in her eyes after another nightmare. Begging for it to end at once, the girl felt she had suffered enough. She didn't want to be left alone, so she decided to wake up her sister and brother. But the room was empty. The next morning, Eva and Sion's disappearance became known. The entire mansion was turned upside down. Julia was accused of not being near Eva, and that after that she could no longer call herself her personal maid. Feeling her guilt, she was willing to accept any punishment, as she should have been by her mistress's side. In the girl's disappearance, Noel also blamed himself, thinking everything was due to his greed. Because of his impulsive actions, Eva could barely breathe normally. It was obvious that she got scared seeing his brief madness and wanted to flee from there. Now the captain understood that he should have waited for her to tell everything, but he couldn't restrain himself. Seeing her desperate brother, Rachel decided to take charge and freed the fire phoenix. Without hesitating for an instant, she ordered the bird to find the owner of that ring. Perhaps because it is a port city, the sun beats down hard in the east. However, as soon as the heroine looked down, she saw not a drop of water. Chasing after a swindler, he attacked her with accusations, unwilling to listen to anything. But what Mia was desperately trying to explain was that the ocean is closed now. The leader of the mermaids has blocked the castle gates for years, so it is impossible to enter legally. According to Mia, the big market is in the west. Information flows where there are people, and the west has a more developed commercial area than any other region. There is plenty of information here. Specifically, her colleague, a great information trafficker, knows how to enter the mermaid castle. The protagonist trusted her one last time, so they came to Shiva, Mia's colleague. Eva told him, above all, that she had come to go to the east, to the mermaids. This cat brought her here. He said that Lord Shiva knows the way. Knowing that the mermaid castle does not accept strangers, the girl needs to go yes. Or yes. As she was a friend of Mia, Shiva asked no further questions about it. It turns out that mermaids love beautiful things, especially expensive jewelry. Mermaids have several factions. For something valuable, someone will surely give a clue. According to the gentleman, getting a gem that a mermaid likes is no easy task. Eva has nothing left but money, so she wants to get to the jewelry store quickly. With that money, she could see all the magic crystals available in the store. Wondering if the mermaids would like them, Mia believed that beauty was what mattered. As soon as Eva finished shopping in the store, a strange gentleman suddenly entered. He wanted to buy a magic crystal of any kind and asked to see everything available. But he was stunned to learn that all the magic crystals had already been bought. It seems urgent, because he needs at least one right now. Thinking about it, Eva doesn't need magic crystals, but precious gems. She was going to buy them just because they were pretty, but she decided to give them up to the Lord. The young man couldn't contain his happiness upon hearing that. He will never forget such kindness. Still, they must leave. But Mia insisted on buying a couple of crystals, just in case. Addressing the owner, the Lord requested that he pack all the magic crystals for him. The strange thing is that anyone reacts like that upon seeing his face, both the girl and her soul. In gratitude for taking care of Sion, Eva wished to repay that kindness. They must leave for the east right now, but Sion begged to stay a little longer. It turns out that the boy in the shop told him that where his sister is going there is a lot of water. It's natural, since mermaids inhabit that place. Apparently, this rogue is afraid of water, and was only chasing his sister out of concern. Although he says it a bit late, Shiva thought it would be better if the boy didn't follow her. Mermaids love pure souls, and Sion's impeccable soul is perfect for someone to covet. If a mermaid likes something, she will take it by force no matter the cost. Since there is no one to look after the child right now, Shiva has volunteered. Upon hearing this, Eva couldn't cause any more trouble with her arrival. Before, when they were alone, Sion said that filth flowed like water. He is the first child who doesn't cry upon seeing Shiva's face. The boy had never seen sand before. It's his first time here, and many things seem amazing to him. What impressed him the most was the huge river and the warm wind, and also the amazing color of Shiva's eyes. Zion's eyes are blue, but in his, a whole palette of colors gathered. Violet, blue, and yellow mixed. Shiva's eyes seemed like a precious stone to him. For the first time, someone was looking him straight in the eye. According to Mia, her partner has always been very emotional, but he is someone who can be trusted. Upon hearing that his sister agreed to leave him there, and that she would be back soon, Sion became incredibly happy. Seeing the joy in his eyes, Eva still couldn't believe he was so afraid of water. It was time to leave, leaving her brother in Shiva's care. The girl promised to return soon. When the girls finished packing, Eva noticed that Mia was eating something. It's the instinct of reincarnation, a new product currently in development. In reality, she is not an addict or anything like that. She can simply achieve a lot this way. Mia even suggested to the girl that she give catnip to the beastmen and not say that she has no friends. It's time to get moving. The cat girl ran towards the mermaids to find out why Eva has no friends. Lately, Sion is tormented by one question. Why is his coffee called Bad Cat? The boy believed Shiva was good, although the Lord didn't give much meaning to that word. The most surprising thing is that Sion knows how to read. They are letters from the human world. Shiva made that sign because he liked how it looked, simply and plainly. In the world of beastmen, few know the human alphabet, so the man used it as a key. And more importantly, in the human world, writing is not just for the elite. Just as the beastman decides to find out the child's last name, a strong wind suddenly blows. A devastating hurricane unleashes, and the child has the opportunity to grab onto a hand. Appearing out of nowhere, the brave Rachel squeezes her brother's hand and pulls him towards her. Dominating her furious agony, she really wanted to know what Sion was doing there. The girl was furious that her siblings came here without saying a single word. She squeezed Sion's hand with such fury that it even hurt him. She couldn't believe that Eva had gone east, to the human world. The boy, terrified, did not want to look for his sister. He was terrified of water. If it's just that, Rubai was ready to dry him down to the last drop just by wishing it. And all Sion had to do in this situation was stay by her side. When he decided to go east, Shiva reminded him that his sister promised to take care of him. He was convinced that this was not a place where children should go. He wanted to ask the girl to stay, but he didn't foresee that she was a red dragon. A representative of the race known for its pride, she bowed her head. Remembering the annoying Mia, Shiva didn't understand what amazing people she worked with. At that instant, the South captain ran into the one who ignored his previous letters. Now, the one who refused even audience requests seeks to meet Noel. On top of that, he didn't come in person. He sent his trusted man. His Majesty is busy. But Noel sensed it was a crucial matter. With no room for discussion, he decided to find out what that guy thought about it. According to the messenger, the documents sent by the South captain were reviewed, but His Majesty ruled that he cannot accept it. It seems like a low blow. Although very probable, there is no need to verify. Let's hope there isn't more of this. It only amused Noel that His Majesty never changes his mind. He asked the messenger to convey that, for his part, there will be no changes either. Captain Ramirez wasted his time in this meeting, but perhaps it is for the best. If His Majesty is so stubborn, it's better that he doesn't know about this girl. It would cause him pain. Eva, thinking of her, the first thing is that she deserved to hear words of forgiveness. Noel must apologize for scaring her and beg her to stay by his side. Eva is a good person, so perhaps she will return, and the captain will fill her only with pleasures, so that she never feels sadness in this place, so that she stays here for years. But Noel's dark side drives him to consume her, so that she is his forever. Upon arriving at the East Coast, Eva encountered abominable treatment. As expected, access to the sea is forbidden to strangers. It is the chief's order. Again, the young girl who knows nothing, who is urged to simply give up. After everything that happened, the girl despaired. At this rate, they will achieve nothing. Not knowing how much time is left, Eva wanted to stop Noel's power burst as soon as possible. Thinking about it, she suddenly noticed a cat landing nearby. Transforming into a human, the wanderer assumed the girl was coming to see Mrs. Land. From her face, Eva does not know that name. He arrived like everyone else, after hearing an insignificant rumor. And of course, if she knew how everything works, she wouldn't cause such a scene in front of the entrance. The stranger warned that Mrs. Lan cannot just be named like that. It seems the girl is looking for a conclusive answer. Wow, she is armed to the teeth. Besides, it's the first time the young man has seen a beastman treated like a pet. No matter who this girl is, you just need to know that in front of Mrs. Lan, everyone is equal. With a bad feeling, Mia suggested not following him. Maybe Eva will find the answer she is looking for, so she proposed following him. The entrance to the other world was in a deep river in the forest. They stopped on the shore. First, the heroine must drink purifying water. Only by cleansing body and mind will she enter the sea. Although she worries about the origin of the liquid, she has no time to hesitate. After drinking that horrible-tasting water, the girl did a good job. And now, the time has come to meet Mrs. Lang, unable to breathe underwater. Eva thought she would die, but a stranger calmed her down. For her, what happened to the purification? The sea opened its arms. Then it became clear that she was a mermaid. The heroine felt the power of the purifying water and could slowly start breathing. The adaptogen for terrestrials you drank earlier also allows you to breathe underwater. It is time to go to Mrs. Land's mansion, so the mermaid ordered them to follow her. A completely different world, full of aquatic creatures and underwater vegetation. What sensations! At first glance, Mrs. Land's mansion looked more like a temple than a simple residence. Inside, Miss Charlie reported that 2 companions had arrived to listen to Mrs. Land. The sermon is about to begin, so they invited Eva to the main hall. There is such silence that she is unable to say a word. She feels like they are not underwater. When Eva finally reached the main hall, she could enter and take a seat wherever she wanted. At that instant, she had the feeling that she was in a religious organization. But the most surprising thing happened when Mrs. Land made her entrance. Everyone longed for a look at the lady, but the protagonist found it strange. The beautiful redhead, greeting her faithful, is Lady Lang herself. But among them, there is an unknown girl, and now escaping will be complicated. Not understanding the adoration for Lang, Eva timidly welcomed her. Pretending to be a believer, she said she had traveled from the north to see Lang. Now, seeing her in person, no words could describe her beauty. The lady suspected that the girl had not come just to admire her physique. She was intrigued by what that young woman wanted, lowering herself to lie to impress. It was obvious that Eva was looking for Henry. Many approached because of the boy, but Lang did not expect her to have no idea who he was. In that case, she agreed to listen to Miss Lova's story during the investigation. Meanwhile, the young master was reprimanded for thinking the amount of stones was enough. According to his father, he still doesn't understand that the future of the East depends on his power. The young man was ordered to leave there and move heaven and earth to gather all the magic crystals. Every day that passes, the father weakens, so the young man must gather the magic crystals. If that girl he recently met hadn't given in, he wouldn't have gotten away with just a scolding. Furthermore, the young master hadn't met anyone captivated by his appearance for a long time. After meeting that creature, this really happened for the first time. Unexpectedly, a talking cat clung to him and ordered him to hurry up. It turned out that, somehow, an earth creature had infiltrated their sea. Desperate, the cat girl claimed that they met in the West and that her friend was captured by fanatics. By sheer luck, the kitty managed to escape. They took her things, and she has no one to turn to for help. Upon hearing that the boy is called Young Master, she thought he must have a very high position. Only by knowing how the terrestrial creatures ended up in this situation will the young man be able to find a solution. It seems this cat escaped from the Silan residence, one less headache, but it will be difficult for the young master to rescue the girl right now, as going there empty-handed would practically be suicide. And if he brought soldiers, there would be a possibility of an armed conflict breaking out. It had been a long time since the future leader saw the chief. It had been a long time since they met for the first time. There is someone he urgently needs to find. That is why Noel Ramier begged for so much cooperation. Finally, Eva woke up tied hand and foot. Mrs. Lang bombarded her with questions. How strange to hear questions from the one who knocked her out. Before, the talkative she-wolf wouldn't shut up, but now she is mute as a fish. Lang doesn't like silence. First, she decided to introduce herself as Arya. She doesn't usually reveal her real name. The boy behind is Charles. Unfortunately, the ties are impossible to undo. Arya invested a lot of energy in tying up the girl. Eva didn't understand why they tied her up, so she didn't waste strength in vain. As for the gems, Arya didn't touch them. She isn't shameless enough to steal them. Besides, it's not telepathy. She simply hears and sees others' thoughts. And in Eva's case, all her thoughts are read on her face. Finding out why she came would be boring. So Arya decided to ask questions and give some advice. Knowing what she is like, the heroine fell and the lady had given her a chance. There is no remedy. Arya tried to be kind, but it seems she will have to extract the memories. Apologizing for the lack of tact, she placed her hand on the girl's head to read all her memories. Finally, she knew what Eva's life had been like. She had no time to be bored. But upon seeing something strange, the lady abruptly withdrew her hands and was thrown back. She couldn't understand what the half-naked girl was sitting on, nor why she told her she was her mistress, and what she was doing with her leg, whether she liked that man or hated him. There are so many obscene images in Eva's head, but Arya will not deal with her again. Wanting to know where the girl had learned that, the lady ordered her to answer immediately. Eva couldn't believe the mermaid wanted to kill her, accusing her of having scandalized her. She still doesn't know how to stop the course of history. She abandoned Rachel and Sion is still in the West. If only the protagonist knew that her end would be like this, she would have tried to advance further in her relationship with Noel. These incredible images shocked Arya. They are like from another world. In all this time, she has read many people's minds, but never saw anything like this. Apparently they have similar tastes, like a frog in a well. The lady almost lived her life without knowing that something like this existed. If the situation were different, they could talk about role-playing games all night. But it's better this way. If she tries to get close to Arya, maybe Eva can free herself. Thinking about what she saw, the lady considers herself very lucky to be a mermaid. She is a fallen mermaid. She uses her power to charm people and make them jump into the sea. Arya was sure the girl only knew the old legend stuck in a book. Even if she uses her abilities a little, she believes there is nothing wrong with it. Even after the truth, there will be no punishment. Only very interesting things happen. Since the she-wolf shared valuable information, Arya will tell her family's story about the red-haired mermaid. After the victory of mermen and mermaids in the conflict, the mermaids were forced to hide. The red-haired mermaid, not even the mermaids themselves accepted her, because of the legend that she tried to kill the first leader. Everyone takes the matter very seriously. Because of the legend, they must walk with their heads down. Arya's mother considered herself a sinner until the end and ordered her daughter to live a life of atonement. Even though the girl felt offended, there was nothing to do. Her family had to live like this. In the end, the only thing her mother got was a lonely death. Arya didn't like her lifestyle, so she decided to earn money first. They say mermaids play with souls, controlling people's minds. But she didn't want to do something so boring, knowing that the soul doesn't bring money. When she fell for the fisherman's hook, Arya told him her heart was full of sadness. He pretends everything is fine, but inside he rots and falls apart. His wounds hurt. The mermaid was not going to harm the fisherman. She only wanted to soothe the sadness inside him. She knows the feeling of forgetting reality, staring fixedly at the seashore. Although the girl was a mermaid, she freed the fisherman and told him to be careful with the water. But he couldn't let her go. The man didn't understand why she hadn't hurt him, and even on the contrary. It opened his eyes. It seemed he was expecting an answer, praying to God, but he remained silent, although Arya can also tell him the words he needs to hear. The fisherman expected an answer, but it never came, so he decided to call Mermaid a goddess. Then everything was easy. Those who heard the rumor asked Arya for advice, offering anything in return. She just had to read their memories and show them a little compassion. Thus, the number of believers grew uncontrollably, and the amount of money increased. There is something valuable, even in the most insignificant soul. By obtaining everything, you can take possession of everything. That's why the lady doesn't regret being born a mermaid. Naive mermaids cannot dream of this life. Since they are incapable of seeing such stories, Eva declared that she could tell other stories. Because normally, those who delve into this topic have many questions. But the mermaid doesn't need that. Instead of listening, she prefers to enter their mind and see everything herself. According to her, it will be like a normal dream, although the lady cannot know when the girl will wake up. The protagonist desperately thought she would have the chance to see Noelle's face before separating. Surprisingly, today the sea is particularly restless. It bubbles in a mysterious way. Seeing this, the man immediately told his son to go home, even though they hadn't caught anything. It is known by all that the sea is the expression of the emotions of mermaids. No one knows what happened, but obviously there are problems in the sea. An army of fighters invaded the underwater world, demanding that the haughty mermaids simply surrender. His Highness supposed that the captain's companion might have entered the sea and been captured by the mermaids. He brought as many soldiers as he could, but the mermaid community is closed and their troops are particularly formidable. Noelle thinks that if the enemy entrenches itself, all that remains is to remove their hiding place. The absolute power of the South Captain devours everything, even the sea. It is the strength of the Red Dragon. Even such a powerful and cruel beast has a companion. Assuming the future leader wants to expel him, Noelle reminded him that he didn't focus on closing the sea. The young leader's father was opposed to the reincarnation of the Red Dragon taking his place. Just as he burned his parents alive, he is capable of drying up the Eastern Sea to the last drop. But in the end, the Red Dragon became leader, and the Lord broke ties with all regions. They say the first Red Dragon ruled with love, not force, but they feared his reincarnation. Seeing her in person, the young Lord seems to begin to understand his father. Little time remains until his power erupts. When it unleashes, it will destroy everything in its path. Seeing this as the reason why the southern boss is forbidden from going east, the future boss no longer wants to be near. He doesn't understand why. Not even with a companion, Noelle is in this state. And furthermore, he wonders, why have the colors of the Red Dragon's soul been corrupted? According to the assistant, that girl was locked in a prison and then transferred somewhere. At that instant, the earth shook, everything collapsed, and everyone thought the South Captain had caused an explosion. But in reality, the power of the mermaids emanates from that wave. As if in shock from the wave, the butler suddenly grabbed his head and lost consciousness. Upon waking up, Eva didn't understand where she was. The truth is that there is another soul in the butler's body. Meanwhile, just by seeing her reflection, the lady couldn't believe she was seeing Charlie. Realizing it wasn't her body, Arya understood that the souls had swapped. Suddenly, the young master ordered all the present mermaids captured. Just as Arya was trying to enter the child's body, she clashed with the mermaid's power. All the souls mixed, and due to the explosion, the lady no longer hears thoughts. Among the shadowy crowd in horror, a child was crying, frantically looking for Ruby. And although it is dangerous, he came to look for his older sister. He entered the sea with Ruby, but a huge whirlpool suddenly separated them. The little boy started crying, just thinking that Ruby had promised to protect him. Unable to bear it, Arya proposed searching for Ruby together and finding a safe place. She is somewhat injured, but she promised to find out where the girl is after recovering. At that instant, a marine trident passed so close that the lady barely protected the child. Renee, commander of the merman army, ordered Serena to stay away from the child and surrender without resistance. He had never seen a more stupid creature. In his eyes, Serena was a true disgrace to mermen. The young woman couldn't understand how he dared to behave with such arrogance. If he himself had attacked, guys like him always treat those who stay quiet on the sidelines as sinners. Like a priestess, the girl decided to act as he wished for once and become the mermaid of his imagination. At that instant, a strange energy surrounded the battlefield, and a girl appeared with her face hidden behind a red cloak. Arya would recognize who she was facing, even without using her special abilities. It was the form of the red dragon. The uncontrolled girl ordered them to take their hands off Sion. Apparently, they don't know who they are trying to touch, so Ruby was preparing to punish them properly. But seeing little Sion with those disoriented eyes, the fury in her heart extinguished instantly. Extending her hand, the girl told him they had to find his sister as soon as possible. Ruby noticed Sion's fear. She had unleashed her power unintentionally again, and she knew they were afraid of her. She feared her brother would be afraid of her, but the boy thought she was amazing. At that instant, Rachel felt terrible. She didn't want him to look at her, as she thought her face was horrible. Sion, on the other hand, thought she was the most beautiful in the world. Ruby always protected him with her magic. She hugged him with her warm hands when he felt cold. And although they taught him not to talk about others' appearance, he wanted to tell her that Ruby was always the most beautiful. Believing that such things are only said to those you like, the girl fled, panicked. Then, Arya decided to take advantage of the moment to get her body back. But she was unlucky again, and ended up in the body of that locked-up child. The lady, aware of her situation, longed to get her body back as soon as possible. At that instant, a masculine voice resonated. The South captain, with tears, burst into the cell. Meanwhile, upon seeing Mia in the cat's body, the butler assumed she had been captured again upon returning. Believing the old man was crazy, the cat scratched him and nimbly escaped his hands. It was then that Eva, inside the butler, realized that this was not her body. Thanks to her peculiar soul, the young master recognized in her the person he crossed paths with in the West. That girl was the friend the cat was looking for. Her soul resembles the boy who is by his side. Suddenly, another explosion shook the place. The power of the Southern boss is gradually intensifying. According to the young master, Noel came looking for his companion. But now is not the time to talk about that. It is hard to believe that the Southern boss is unable to control his power at this moment. Eva understood that if they remained trapped in the epicenter of the Mana explosion, everything would end. She decided to intervene at all costs, even though the future leader warned her of the danger. In reality, the one in danger now is Noel, so Eva doesn't plan to stand still here. Before leaving, she told the Lord to take Mia and wait outside. Then it became evident. The soul connected to the Southern boss was that girl. Those two souls are attracted to each other. Seeing the fearsome dragon boss and hearing that he wanted to talk, Arya didn't understand what she was doing there. All he wanted was to explain himself, just to have one chance. He apologized for having scared the girl before, simply showing impatience, just so Eva wouldn't abandon him. He swore never to do anything again that she didn't like. At that instant, memories of the red dragon flooded Arya's mind in a chaotic whirlwind. She knew the Southern boss had a companion, but she didn't think it was the owner of this body. The feelings directed towards her are similar to the desire to taste a delicious dish. Whatever happens now, Arya decided to flee from him, escape the clutches of this monster. Eva's lifeless body fell into the dragon's arms. Noel, in a panic, understood nothing. Worried about her condition, he decided to find out if anything bothered her or if anything hurt. Feeling his beastly warmth, the girl opened her eyes, realizing she was in Noel's arms. Arya dared to touch the dragon's companion, without knowing if she herself knew everything. Thinking no one could withstand such desire, she suddenly felt someone grab her. From Henry's face, it was clear that something had happened that required a quick escape. Eva was sure she had fled in another body, and only thought of wanting to be in her own. Checking Noel first, she felt his temperature stabilizing. The captain justified his insistent touches, saying he was afraid she might hurt herself when falling. When he thought her request was too much, the protagonist didn't understand what he was talking about. For Noel, it is enough if it lasts a short time. He dreams that Eva stays a little longer. Being honest, it's not difficult for her to help him at all. On the contrary, Eva came to try to help him, and in the end she made everyone worry. Her magic couldn't lower the dragon's fever, so she wanted to find another way to achieve it. She left without saying anything, because she thought it wouldn't take long. If she were a true companion, she would solve this problem easily. But for Noel, it's not that simple. The heat often invades him when he struggles to control his emotions. The southern boss imagines something he would find hard to handle. That's why he wouldn't dare do something like that to his beloved. Then, Eva added that she wanted to know from the mermaids what connection exists between the two of them. Realizing her mistake, Eva understood that in those explanations, she would have to reveal her identity. Noelle only cares to know if that is really the only thing she wanted. Never ever had it happened that a girl was afraid of him. No matter who she is, Noelle doesn't care. It is enough for him that she is by his side. Looking him in the eyes, Eva thought that now everything would be fine if she revealed the truth. Even if wolf blood runs through her veins, when it comes to him, the heroine is sure. Seeing the collapse, she barely managed to stand up so as not to get hurt. The first thing was to get out of that building right now. It seemed like it was going to collapse. Apologizing for his clumsiness, the captain swiftly picked her up in his arms to escape. Clinging tighter to him, Eva strongly wished to become Noelle's ideal companion. She must be a beauty, but the protagonist dreams of staying a little longer next to the captain. A short time later, they managed to move away from the disaster site to a safe distance. Suddenly, a childish scream broke the silence. Ruby rushed towards her sister, panicked. Both she and Sion were very worried about what had happened to their sister. Then Noelle decided to find out how the girl got there, if he told her to wait in the south. It turns out that Rachel was also very frightened by her sudden disappearance. And Sion, the important thing is that Eva understood his feelings and apologized. She thought no one would notice her, because before there was not a single person looking for them. It seemed to Eva that everything would be fine, even if she said nothing. Everyone in the castle is desperate, worried because the girl disappeared without saying a word. The protagonist doesn't want to reveal her true identity because she doesn't want to be abandoned. The unresolved question is, who are the people capturing mermaids? Fearing for her life, Charlie confessed that it was all her doing. She was the one who took that girl to the sea and begged for Mrs. Len to be released. Another merman confessed that he was rude to her, and Mrs. Len only asked her questions. Another mermaid was the one really controlling the mansion. Everyone took the blame to cover up for Mrs. Len, who had no sin at all. Mermaids are a selfish race without blood ties, but what Eva saw was very different behavior. The appearance of Mrs. Len ended everything. In any case, she was the one who started it. The young master gave his word. The decision was to arrest only that girl. Everyone else was set free. In the name of the inhabitants of the East, Henry took the blame for disrespecting the guest, and he asked for forgiveness. Now he can finally introduce himself officially. His name is Henry. He is the future leader of the East. But in the novel, the next leader of the East was a girl with red eyes. A beautiful mermaid once visited her. After hearing rumors that the leader had brought a wolf from the north, she is the ruler of the earth, the red dragon. But the mermaid couldn't stand idly by in the face of the mass murders. In response to the request to release grudges and stop the senseless killing, the leader only laughed. She decided it was worth dyeing the sea a bloody color, similar to the color of the mermaid's hair. A crimson sea. What a sight! Sion thought his sister wanted to reprimand those people and said that girl was good, that she had helped him, and she even saved him from dangerous people and was going to look for Eva, so she didn't deserve punishment. However, Henry believed that they should not trust the words of a child who met a mermaid. Maybe they brainwashed him. Hearing this, Charlie asserted that she brainwashed no one and reminded him that the boss can determine it. In response to those words, she received a slap. The butler thought he wanted to increase his sin. He went crazy, simply because the mermaid dared to speak boldly to the young master. Seeing how they argue about mermaids, it became evident to Eva that something strange is definitely happening here. A mermaid is a cruel mermaid, greedy for pure souls and everything beautiful. But she showed no interest in either Sion or the jewels. Although maybe Eva worries in vain. But that look of submission doesn't leave her in peace. After thinking about it a bit, he proposed postponing the punishment for a while. But the young woman discovered it was impossible. Mermaids always influence the East negatively. They increased their power, gathering an army without permission and continuously introducing foreigners into the sea. Upon finding out, Eva decided to find out if those two knew the damage she suffered because of this incident. Despite the complaints, Henry agreed to take her to the interrogation room and to take Arya there. Without fear that the mermaid will take advantage of the opportunity, he thinks she has been causing them trouble for a long time. And now the only hope is that Eva does not make Henry regret the decision he made. Soon they arrived at the place. They can't even imagine the tricks mermaids can use. Although the butler took all precautions, he asked to watch the girl. However, the protagonist considered it unnecessary, not thinking that Arya would harm him. Without fear of danger, Eva trusted that the East had enough guards to come to her aid immediately. As soon as she entered the cold cell, she heard Serena's regret. Arya blamed herself for ruining everything. Not daring to ask for forgiveness for luring people to the water for money, she was ready to accept punishment. If it weren't for those who simply gave in to greed, Arya would no longer exist with that hair color. She didn't become like this by her own choice. No one would tolerate her if she had chosen another path. Serena did it only because she wanted to survive, like all abandoned creatures. She didn't expect the she-wolf to believe her, as she herself understood that proving it was simply impossible. Arya said she didn't have the ability to bewitch people, assuring that lonely creatures often deceive themselves. Since Serena said earlier that revealing the truth would not involve punishment, Eva didn't understand what she was saying. It turns out that Serena will not lose her wealth, even if she decided to unmask the lie. It became clear then. Revealing Eve's wolf nature would have no punishment. Internal struggles and helping those who threaten her are not what the heroine cares about. But despite everything, the memories of her past life still haunt her. After talking with Serena, Eva met Noel. Worried about how she was, the girl reassured him, telling him she only asked the beast man a couple of questions. Noel burned with desire to know what they talked about, but explaining it would be very complicated. She will soon be able to, so the girl asked him to have a little patience. The captain doesn't mind waiting. He fully trusts this beautiful young woman from the north. To be honest, the interrogation was a success, thanks to Henry's intervention. He asked her to share what she had found out. It would be invaluable for the investigation, but he never imagined that Eva would request an audience with the East's leader. Although it is a crucial matter, Father Henry is not accepting requests. It seems the future boss doesn't understand that disrespecting the South's companion is also against him. Then, Noel doubted that the future East's leader has basic knowledge of hierarchy and etiquette. Understanding the gravity, the young master understood everything and asked them to follow him. Suddenly, Noel warned the girl to be careful. It seemed suspicious to him that a strange energy spread throughout the castle. The East's leader is not well, so Henry asked for understanding and generosity. After knocking on the door, Henry introduced himself, but it was strange that he trembled upon hearing his father's voice. The East's leader was happy to see his son and said his son always suffers because of his useless father. Seeing the lady behind him, the Lord thought his son had brought an excellent lover home. The East's leader hadn't seen the South's leader for a long time, blocking his access to the sea upon ascending the throne. Moreover, it seems he didn't know that Noel Raymier wouldn't come alone. According to Henry, a massive incident occurred in Siren's territory today. The matter was urgent, so he resolved it immediately. As soon as the Lord heard that his son dared to go there, his kind face transformed into restrained fury. He had said many times that entering Siren's territory is forbidden. With such a useless air, the Lord couldn't leave his post. The Lord raising his hand to Henry infuriated Eva, so she decided to intervene. It's strange to hear that from the commander's companion, as the leader had not received reports that the South's leader had a companion. Eva froze when the Lord apologized for his ignorance and incompetent subordinates. Although late, the time came to introduce himself. Mentira Doral, leader of the East. Henry recounted that the red-haired mermaids caused a lot of harm to the South's leader's companion. Although this is the work of mermaids, everything happened in East territory. Curiously, Mentira radiates a strange hostility when mentioning the word companion. Suddenly, noticing Eva's face darkening, Noel decided to find out if everything was all right. Thus the East's leader learned her name was Eva. How clumsy, he only just found out her name. On behalf of the East, Mentira apologized and was willing to pay compensation or take measures. When he offered to atone for his guilt, Noel agreed with whatever decision Eva made. The girl accepted the invitation. The more the East studies, the stranger it seems to him. There is a legend that red-haired mermaids are cursed, but the current East's leader has red hair. The merman in front of her cannot read her mind. Everything Eva sees is confusing. Since there are important guests in the East this time, Mentira hoped his beloved son wouldn't ruin it. Only upon being left alone could the East's leader laugh. Finally, he is free. there is a manual transmitted exclusively to his family members. It says to be careful of the one-hearted dragon. After the dragon's death, the world will return. Who would have thought the prophecy would come true in this generation? But if the dragon has a companion, the leader must be even more cautious. In Mentira's eyes, Noel is just a fool, incapable of finding his destined soulmate. Now all that remains is for him to become a victim of his own power and perish. Although the red dragon suddenly appeared, it suits the East's leader perfectly. The truth is simple: new stories always eclipse the old ones. After swallowing the precious stone, the leader was sure it would be a glorious feast. At all costs, he decided to show who the true master of the sea is. Soon, Henry only thought about why she kept creating problems. Arya doesn't stop complicating everything. She had to wait a little longer, but she herself was not willing to keep living as if she were dead. 12 years have passed, and she is still waiting, trusting only the young master's words. Nothing has changed in this time. Mermaids are still treated like insects, forced to live like this. The truth is that Henry is tied to his father, unable to move freely. Arya finds it funny that he hopes to escape the shadow, being the boss. Nothing the young master has done for her is of any use. Now the mermaid declares that they will live on the land where he locked them, like real mermaids. With her, it's clear. She listens to anyone, but for some reason, she doesn't want to listen to Henry. As a child, finally seeing dry land, he decided to start the training for successors. His teachers are idiots. They always assign homework, saying the boss must understand people's lives. But the young master is destined to rule the infinite ocean, so he decided to gain experience now. Then, the red-haired girl from the cave became interested in his experience and the training for his successors. Henry Doral IX, possessing exceptional beauty, decided that she would resist his handsomeness. The Doral family is famous for their breathtaking appearance. Their beauty subjugated people hopelessly, and Henry did not escape that curse. The red-haired girl was the first to shatter his ego, telling him he wasn't her type. The young master couldn't believe she didn't flinch when looking at him. To confirm it, Henry forced the girl to look at his face one more time. But even then, she told him to get lost. That was their first encounter on land. Later, it was revealed that Henry had come to study human life. He skillfully disguised his absence from classes as something noble, although he didn't believe it. Listening to people is a basic duty. So the boy decided to fulfill the wish of the first person he met. Then, the red-haired girl proposed that they see each other from time to time. She said there was no need to come often, that she just wanted a friend. In reality, it's a bit difficult, because Henry wants to visit his friend every day. From that moment, they started being friends. The girl asked him to call her Arya. After they became friends, Henry excused himself with studies to hang around. They helped elderly fishermen fish, made shell necklaces, and gave them to the children. They spent all their time together. That time was so precious to the young lord. But if he could turn back time, he would never have called her a friend, because then he wouldn't have fallen in love. Then one day, Henry hurried to see his friend. He had decided to skip class again today. When it was known that he was learning about human life with someone, the Lord said that no one attended those classes. However, the boy was so enthusiastic that there was someone who could teach him so much. And that's why he begged so much for them to postpone the classes just a little bit. Henry's eyes shone, asserting that even a servant would be surprised to hear that. His eyes were like lilacs, shining like gems, and his cheeks always slightly flushed. And his hair was like silk woven with the sunset, bright and striking red hair. Upon finding out, the Lord apologized and decided to find out what race she really belonged to. Once, Henry wanted to accompany the girl home, but she insisted the path was long and uneven. The sun would set soon, so he suggested they hurry. Time was pressing. Terrified, Arya pushed him, and instantly realized the boy had fallen into the water because of her. It turned out he was fine. He could breathe underwater, so he didn't care at all. He simply thought he was pressuring her too much, so he decided to take a step back. The young master decided to leave first, asking the girl to be careful on the way back. Honestly, he had never wondered what race she was. He only knows that she lives in a nearby village. But Henry never even considered the possibility that she was a mermaid. He thought that if she really were a mermaid, she would know who he is and try to seduce him from the start. Even the idea that she might be doing it on purpose, the boy flatly refused to believe it. He was sure Arya couldn't behave like that on purpose, just to confuse him. Thinking a little, the future leader decided to take the butler today. He was going to the nameless cemetery to pray for the deceased. The only chance is that the butler can read what is in his heart, if Henry cannot see the truth. However, the Lord was sure that reckless words could cause trouble. Today he promised to be with the boy, but he couldn't stay long. Soon, in a nameless cemetery, Arya begged God to hear her prayers. She pleaded for eternal life for those who live in paradise, and for peace where they forget the pain of death. The girl prayed for the Almighty to grant that to her mother, and for her to have the courage to live until their reunion. That day, Henry came to the meeting accompanied by his butler for the first time. Seeing that girl, the Lord was absolutely sure that she was the red-haired mermaid. Considering his duty to protect the young master, the butler decided to take him away as soon as possible. But the young heir wanted to hear her version of the story, believing Arya couldn't be a mermaid. After this, the father ordered tighter surveillance of the mermaid's territory, and Henry was placed under house arrest. The butler felt bad. All he did was to protect the boy. Even if that girl was a mermaid, Henry still considered her his friend. The end of this story is that he, along with her, decided to put an end to all this. Shortly after, the boy decided to share a secret with her. He could never see the truth. That's why his father seeks ways to extend his reign as much as possible, since his son lacks skills. But Arya still believed the boy would be a great leader, as sometimes ruling is balancing interests. Of course, truth is important, but it's not enough to unite people. The main thing is that Henry has the kindness to accept everyone and the insight to see people's essence. And in case he worries about not being able to see the truth, he can appoint an assistant. Deciding to be the leader, the first thing Henry was going to do was destroy all forms of discrimination. In Eastern history, mermaids are treated very badly, but he didn't believe they were evil from the start. The boy was going to judge based on what he saw with his own eyes. But even with power, it's hard to achieve something alone, so he proposed to Arya to join. She is the one who listens to his stories and judges what is right and what is not, who Henry really needs. His only wish is for the red-haired mermaid to become his first advisor. All this ended with the boy having to check all the places they had been. He couldn't believe everything Arya said was a lie. When he reached the last place, his only hope is that she comes out and speaks to him directly. In the cave, the boy found her, but judging by her face, something terrible had happened. Henry only wanted to know why she had so many wounds, but in a panic, Arya pushed him away. She declared that a cursed mermaid like her should not touch the hand of someone as noble as him. The truth is that the girl is indeed a pure-blooded red-haired mermaid. That she was a red-haired mermaid didn't matter to the future leader. He only wanted to know one thing. Everything about her, their memories together. Was it all just to trick him? Henry couldn't believe what he heard when she said she wanted something from the future leader. The boy didn't know much about her, but he knew one thing. Arya wasn't one to play with others' feelings. According to the mermaid, he can't be so sure if he can't even see the true essence. Then it became clear to the young master. He decided to leave and sent the girl to the sea. When saying goodbye, he promised to convince his father to change the decree about stricter mermaid surveillance. In the following days, Henry behaved distantly. He didn't even eat properly. He was going to catch up on all the missed classes, having so little time. The boy thought he should at least study well, as he was a flawed creation who couldn't see the truth. The butler believed that the pain he felt now would make him a compassionate leader. According to him, Henry more than anyone understands the pain of not having what others take for granted. This understanding can be used to be a ruler who finds and relieves hidden sadness. So, at the seashore, Arya considered it an honor to be his first advisor. After all this, the young successor was unsure if he would really be capable, if he can't even earn the trust of a single person. Soon, at the meeting with the South's leader and Sion, Eva looked incredibly beautiful. Above all, her charming image impacted Noel. Today she was radiant. No matter what happens, she must trust the captain. Today he will end everything. At the banquet, they were greeted with absurd rumors. No one expected to see the dragon with his companion. Eva thought the looks from other mermaids were intense, but this was nothing compared to this man's look. This banquet was prepared in a hurry, but Mentira Doral hoped they would like it. The reason they organized a banquet today is that the South leader's wife suffered during a visit to the East. So today the leader had the opportunity to seize the moment to punish the one who dared to be insolent. They had always turned a blind eye to his behavior, but now he had gone too far and hurt outsiders. To protect the peace, they couldn't keep ignoring him. So Mentira wanted to personally execute the mermaid. Hearing this, Henry couldn't help but intervene, reminding his father that everything should end with an exile. Since the leader's son is so weak, the Lord believed it was time for him to intervene. The final decision belongs to Eva. Everyone wanted to know if she could forgive such rudeness on Siren's part. It turned out she agrees. A big mistake to use brainwashing to hide the truth. As a victim, the girl decided to carry out the punishment with what the leader has in his hands. Everyone was shocked that she wanted to use the trident, something only the leader can use. According to the butler, even if she is the South leader's wife, her request is somewhat excessive. Only descendants of the East leader's blood can hold the trident. For this to bring peace to the East, the leader granted the girl that possibility. Her ability to control the crowd amazed the heroine. He knows how to manage public opinion. Mentira could have said he was rude and refused, but instead, he listened to the senseless demand. Eva is someone who acts without reason, having no idea of common sense. And he is a generous monarch. Then she too, according to the image he created, can force him to do something. The heroine decided to find out how this man should pay for the sin of hiding the truth by brainwashing. When saying that this purge was done throughout the East, he was not referring to Arya, but to the East's leader. Seeing the leader in danger, the defense squad took up their weapons to protect the Lord. Immediately, the absolute power of the red dragon surrounded the hall. He was determined to do anything. If they even touched the edge of the dragon's companion's dress, they must face the consequences. Not knowing what he was doing, Mentira asked them to lower the spear, as this could affect regional relations. The heroine did not ask Doral's leader. She can also address him by another name, like Siren. The assistant did not tolerate such impudence and ordered the South's captain to reprimand his companion. However, Noel was not going to do that, as dragons obey the will of their companions. Eva ordered him to restrain himself. Otherwise, this place would already be engulfed in flames. By asserting that the woman Noel knows is the biggest liar here, the East's leader felt pity. According to him, and he doesn't lie about everything, she claims to be a dragon's companion. With this, Lord Doral meant that this woman cannot be, by any means, a dragon's companion. He spoke with certainty, having the eyes of a merman, the gift of insight as East's leader, and as God's representative, the light-haired merman who punished the proud mermaid. He was appointed East's leader. The entire Beastmen community knows that mermen avoid speaking the truth without thinking. In that case, Eva wants to know how the East's leader can claim that he speaks the truth. She thought that mermen are punished for the truth, but lying is fine, as if his truth had no weight. Perhaps the problem is that he failed to see the real truth. Oh, as the heroine guessed, the legend itself has been a lie this whole time. Regarding the leader being able to recognize the truth, Lord Henry can be a witness. When Eva met his father, he mistook her for his son's lover, but Arya always saw through her, and he instantly knew who she was. When Eva demanded to know what she was, the East's leader grabbed her by the neck and threw her. He squeezed her throat so hard she couldn't breathe. Mentira was going to break her neck. Our heroine couldn't pass out like that. She needed to find something to free herself. To his surprise, the mind control failed. The leader was about to get into serious trouble. When he tried to fix everything, he saw it was still breaking, and he thought he had been careless. Maybe the Lord used her too much. This is bad. Without her, the prey will escape. He simply couldn't believe this woman was using human king magic. At that fateful moment, Noel felt pity. He could no longer stand on the sidelines, watching his beloved being threatened.